No matter who you are or what reason you have, you should be punished for ruining the genius feast. Thunderstar Lord stared at Jian Wushuang coldly. Thunderstar Lord, I don't want to cause any trouble. Besides, I'm done with my business, and I don't intend to stay in your Thunderstar world. If you let me leave now, nothing will happen. But if you continue to pester me, I can't guarantee what will happen later. Jian Wushuang was very calm. A mere second-level ruler is really arrogant. Thunderstar Lord laughed. Forget it. I won't kill you. I've built a thunder prison in the Thunderstar world to punish those who disrespect me. I'll lock you up in the thunder prison and keep you there for 100 million years. As soon as he finished his words, Thunderstar Lord attacked. Green thunderbolts flashed crazily on his body. As he stretched out his hand, a huge palm made entirely of thunderbolts grabbed toward Jian Wushuang. The thunder palm contained a violent and suffocating power. In front of this thunder palm, an ordinary fourth-level ruler would probably lose the ability to resist. The many experts on the training field were all terrified the moment they saw the Thunderstar Lord make his move. One had to know that this was the Thunderstar Lord, the publicly acknowledged #1 expert of the entire Thunderstar Lord. Over the long years, he had always been a man of his word in the Thunderstar world. No one dared to disobey his orders, but it was precisely because he was too aloof. That was why very few people in the Thunderstar world had actually seen him make his move. But now, Thunderstar Lord had directly attacked in front of everyone, and he was only dealing with a second-level ruler. As expected of a fifth-level ruler, his casual attack is so powerful. Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly, and then he directly slashed with one hand. In an instant, an invisible sword shadow rushed out and directly cut through the thunder hand. The huge thunder hand was directly cut into two by the sword shadow, and a large amount of thunder power crazily spread out in the surrounding void. Crackling sounds were heard in the void. Ha! Thunderstar Lord was surprised. Although he had just casually attacked, an ordinary fourth-level ruler could not withstand it. However, this second-level ruler had actually blocked it, and he had also easily blocked it. Star-Lord, although this person is only a second-level ruler, his real strength is very impressive. Even I am not his match. The sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect, who was beside Thunderstar Lord, said. Thunder Lord narrowed his eyes. He had heard the sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect say that Jian Wushuang was powerful, but he did not take it seriously. But now, it seemed that this second-level ruler was indeed extraordinary. Thunder Lord, I have already said that it's better for you to let me go. Otherwise you, the ruler of the astral world, will probably fall today and lose face in front of the experts of the Thunderstar world. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. You're boasting shamelessly. Thunderstar Lord sneered. He flipped his palm and a Cyan spear appeared in his hand. As the spear appeared, a large amount of Cyan thunder power surged out from Thunderstar Lord's body. The green thunder power was completely connected to the spear. At that moment, Thunderstar Lord also transformed into a thunder war god with a green aura. You can say that again after you receive 3 moves from me. Thunderstar Lord shouted in a low voice, but his body moved instantly. 3 moves? Let's try it first. Jian Wushuang also smiled, and the Wuxia divine sword appeared in his hand. His divine power surged and directly faced Thunderstar Lord. The first move, Thunderstar Lord held the spear with one hand. Endless green thunderbolt power gathered on the spear, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge green thunderbolt snake. As Thunderstar Lord's long spear stabbed out, the green thunderbolt snake tore at Jian Wushuang at a rapid speed. The space was shattered by the endless thunderbolt power on the thunderbolt snake. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He held the Wuxia divine sword with both hands and activated the mysterious universe origin of sword principle. The moment the Wuxia divine sword slashed down, the power of the universe principle instantly merged into his swordsmanship. Without using the universe principle, Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship could only be considered the most powerful in the 4th level. However, once he used the universe principle, the power of his swordsmanship could instantly rise to the 5th level. Bang! With a crisp explosion, the shining green thunder snake came into contact with the sword light. It was immediately dimmed by the power contained in the sword light. The entire thunder snake became weak and flew backward. 5th level battle strength? Thunderstar Lord stared at Jian Wushuang in surprise, but then his eyes turned cold. Even if you are really a 5th level ruler, you can't be presumptuous in the Thunderstar world. Chi. The green thunder power surged crazily. The entire void was completely covered by the cyan thunder power, forming a huge thunder sea. In the sea of thunderbolts, the green thunder war god, which was formed by Thunderstar Lord, was even more powerful. The power of the spear in his hand increased dramatically one after another. The thunder snakes with terrifying power burst out at the same time. At this moment, at least more than 100 thunder snakes surged out. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and a terrifying sword essence condensed in front of him. In the blink of an eye, many sword rays condensed, each of which contained a rich power of the universe's principles. Under Jian Wushuang's guidance, the sword rays rushed out at the same time and collided with the incoming thunder snakes. A dense explosion sound was heard, and the hundreds of thunder snakes were all defeated by the sword rays. Haha, Thunder Ruler, you can use such a method to deal with an ordinary 4th level ruler, but it's far from enough to deal with me. Jian Wushuang's laughter resounded throughout the entire martial arts practice field. Boy, don't be so arrogant. Take my 3rd move first. Thunderstar Lord shouted, his eyes flashing with terrifying thunder. A large number of thunder snakes surged out from the endless thunder sea. In the blink of an eye, nearly 1,000 thunder snakes appeared. However, this time the 1,000 thunder snakes did not scatter and attack Jian Wushuang. Instead, they gathered together at a terrifying speed in the shortest time. The power of a single lightning snake was powerful enough. The 1,000 lightning snakes gathered together and turned into a huge lightning dragon in the blink of an eye. This lightning dragon emitted a destructive power. Previously, it was Thunder Dragon. Now, it was a thunder dragon that was hundreds or thousands of times bigger than before. In terms of power, they were not on the same level. Even Jian Wushuang's pupils could not help shrinking when he saw the huge thunder dragon coming at him. Jian Wushuang drew his sword and did not hold back his strength anymore. One sword move, split the heaven. Boom! The heaven and earth were completely split apart. This sword move seemed to come from beyond the 9 heavens and wanted to split the entire firmament universe. The first move of splitting the heaven was the strongest sword move in terms of attack, apart from the 3 sword formations that Jian Wushuang had created. The shocking sword shadow directly struck the thunder dragon. Roar! The thunder dragon's roar faintly sounded in the world. In fact, the roar was a burst of thunder. The thunder dragon rolled and exploded with terrifying power. Even Jian Wushuang's first move of splitting heaven could not completely cut the thunder dragon. However, it still sharply reduced the thunder dragon's power. After being hit by the sword light, the thunder dragon's volume was much larger than before. However, it still rushed toward Jian Wushuang like a madman. Rumble! The thunder dragon hit Jian Wushuang's divine body. Jian Wushuang felt as if he was hit by a huge star. At the same time, a large amount of thunder power crazily entered his body, trying to destroy his divine body. However, he had cultivated the 3rd level of supreme indestructibility. The strength of his divine body was comparable to the strongest universe supreme treasure, so the impact of the thunder power did not affect him much. In the void, Jian Wushuang regained his balance after being defeated by the thunder dragon for a distance. Then he raised his head and smiled. Thunderstar Lord, your moves are quite fancy, but the power is a little weak. Your thunder dragon only scratched my divine body. Thunderstar Lord's expression finally darkened. The countless experts watching the battle were all extremely shocked. This person actually received the Star Lord's attack? If it was the previous 2 attacks, it would have been fine. But that last move, the Star Lord clearly used all of his strength, and in the end, he still wasn't able to injure him. This man is only a 2nd-level ruler, but his battle strength has reached the 5th level? Where did this monster come from? It's so terrifying. The experts of Thunderstar Lord were secretly amazed. The experts of the Universal Poison Demon Sect did not dare to make a sound at this moment. The sect master of the Universal Poison Demon Sect had wanted Thunder Star Lord to kill Jian Wushuang, but now he was shocked by Jian Wushuang's strength. Obviously, Jian Wushuang's battle strength was at the 5th level. He could not afford to offend such an expert. Even the Star Lord would not want to offend such an expert. Humph, no wonder you're so arrogant. You're quite capable. Thunder Star Lord snorted, his eyes still fixed on Jian Wushuang. Since you are not weak, take out 500 Universe Origin Stones as an apology and let this matter go. 500 Universe Origin Stones? Jian Wushuang sneered. Thunder Ruler, you are really asking for too much. Indeed, it was asking for too much because the price of an attack principal treasure was only about 200 Universe Origin Stones. 500 Universe Origin Stones. Many 5th-level rulers did not have that much. Thunder Star Lord must have seen the extraordinary Wuxia divine sword in his hand, and he was only a 2nd-level ruler, yet he could unleash the power of a 5th-level ruler. He must have been a 5th-level ruler during the Great Era, so he dared to say this. You don't want to hand it over? Then you'll die. Thunder Star Lord's eyes suddenly turned cold. At this moment, the power of the Thunder Star Lord, which was originally filled with a large amount of green thunder, began to surge crazily. Then, under the watchful eyes of countless experts, the green thunder began to undergo a qualitative change. The thick green thunder began to undergo a qualitative change. In the blink of an eye, the power of the green thunder had completely turned into a faint purple thunder. The Thunder Star Lord had also turned back into a purple thunderbolt war god. Purple thunderbolt? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He carefully felt the power of the purple thunderbolt. Without a doubt, after the power of the thunderbolt turned from green to purple, its power was obviously a level higher than before. This kid is indeed not weak. If it was before, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. But now that I have refined the purple thunderbolt scroll, my strength has greatly increased, so I can make an example of him. A trace of killing intent flashed in the eyes of the Thunder Star Lord. Originally, he did not want to kill Jian Wushuang. He just wanted to send Jian Wushuang to Thunder Hell to be suppressed as a punishment. But after the fight, he realized that Jian Wushuang was so strong, so he changed his mind. It was normal for a 2nd-level ruler to have such great battle strength. He must have gotten a great opportunity, so he might have a treasure on him. It was for this reason that Thunder Ruler wanted to kill Jian Wushuang. Crash! Endless purple thunderbolts flashed crazily, followed by purple lightning pillars descending from the sky above. Blood Thunder Sea! Destroy! Thunder Ruler shouted, and the purple lightning pillars instantly gathered together and rushed toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and moved quickly, leaving afterimages in the void. However, the purple lightning pillars seemed to have locked onto him. Where did he go? The purple lightning pillars rushed toward him. In the end, he had no choice but to meet them. Earth Guardian Sword Formation. Jian Wushuang finally used the sword formation. Earth Sword domains rose up, carrying the power of the formation. In the blink of an eye, they formed a huge Guardian Sword Formation. The protective sword formation covered Jian Wushuang's entire body. The vast purple lightning pillars rushed at the Earth Sword Formation, but they only partially destroyed it, but they could not completely destroy the sword formation. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang retreated quickly. At the same time, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Thunder Ruler, are you really not going to be kind today? Nice? What a joke! Thunder Ruler smiled coldly, but the purple thunderbolts around him became even more intense. Very good. In that case, let's see who will kill who. Jian Wushuang's eyes also emitted a shocking killing intent. He did not want to tangle with Thunder Ruler. After all, there was no conflict of interest between the two parties. However, he did not expect that the other party would not stop. Moreover, that move just now was clearly intended to kill him. Did this Thunder Star Lord really think that he had a good temper? Buzz! The hazy fog swept away, and Jian Wushuang finally displayed his killer move. What is this? A sword formation? Thunder Ruler frowned as he looked at the fog in front of him. He could feel the power of the formation contained in the fog, but then he snorted coldly and said, "It's just a small trick. The purple thunderbolt power surrounding Thunder Ruler, which was already extremely majestic, suddenly surged once again. The mighty purple thunderbolts swept toward the fog in all directions, intending to disperse the fog directly. However, the fog that was swept out by the obscure sword formation was not solid at all. Although the purple thunderbolt power attacked, the fog did not have much of an impact on the battlefield. The fog still filled the entire battlefield, and Jian Wushuang had already disappeared in front of Thunder Ruler. Thunder Ruler looked around coldly, trying to find Jian Wushuang. However, he could not see Jian Wushuang because of the layers of gray fog. He could only sense Jian Wushuang's approximate position with his soul perception. Whoosh! Without any warning, an ice-cold sword light cut through the void from the side. So fast, and so sudden. Thunderstar Lord was shocked, but he did not panic. He saw a large amount of purple thunderbolt power surge and instantly gathered to form a complete purple thunderbolt armor on his body. The thunderbolt armor covered Thunderstar Lord's entire body. The sword light cut down on the purple thunderbolt armor, but it only scattered a part of the purple thunderbolt. In the next moment, the purple thunderbolt armor returned to normal. Humph! This is the Thunder God battle armor that I formed after refining the purple thunder scroll. This battle armor can not only increase my offensive power, but also my defensive ability to the extreme. With both offense and defense, my overall strength can be doubled. The Thunderstar Lord sneered. The secret technique that he cultivated was extremely powerful. The first scroll of the Green Thunder Scroll had already increased his strength by a lot. Not long ago he had refined the Purple Thunder Scroll, and his overall strength had increased again. The Purple Thunder God armor was especially powerful, which was the reason why he was so confident. Jian Wushuang used the sword skill of the obscure sword formation to strike the Purple Thunder God armor, but it did not cause much damage. However, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry. In the hazy fog, sword lights lit up again. Thunderstar Lord was prepared for these sword lights. He easily attacked. Purple lightning pillars descended out of thin air. Most of the sword lights were directly scattered by the lightning pillars. Even if some of them were not destroyed, they could not cause any damage to his Purple Thunder God armor. Haha! Kid, this is your trump card. You're just scratching my itch. Thunderstar Lord laughed loudly. Really? Jian Wushuang's cold voice suddenly sounded behind Thunder Ruler. What? Thunder Ruler was stunned. His soul power had been sensing Jian Wushuang's approximate position, but he did not sense when Jian Wushuang had appeared behind him. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had already stabbed out with the Wuxia Divine Sword. The sword was so fast that Thunderstar Lord did not have time to defend himself. Humph! So what if I am stabbed by you? With your level of attack, you can't break my Thunder God armor. Thunderstar Lord snorted in his heart. He had absolute confidence in the purple thunder armor on his body. In fact, unless Jian Wushuang used the dragon-killing secret skill, which could increase his strength in a short period of time, he could not break the Thunder God armor with normal sword skills. However, Thunderstar Lord did not know that Jian Wushuang had activated the drop of scarlet venom hidden in the Wuxia Divine Sword the moment he stabbed out. This drop of venom was personally refined by an ultimate level ruler poison ruler. Just one drop was worth 1,000 universe origin stones. Chi! The cold sword light stabbed into the purple thunder armor on Thunderstar Lord's body, and a sound of divine power melting was heard. The smile on Thunderstar Lord's face froze and turned into shock. Wherever the sword light touched, the purple thunder that formed the purple thunder armor started to melt rapidly. It was like a bowl of hot water sprinkled on the snow in winter. The purple thunder melted too quickly. There was nothing they could do. Once the drop of venom contained in the Wuxia Divine Sword exploded, the terrifying corrosive power might not even be able to resist the divine body of an ultimate ruler. And this purple thunder was only formed by Thunderstar Lord's own divine power. How could he withstand the corrosion of the venom? In an instant, a hole the size of a bowl appeared in the center of the purple thunderbolt armor. The Wuxia Divine Sword continued to extend and stab at the divine body of Thunderstar Lord. There was a protective armor on the surface of the main body of Thunderstar. Although it was not a principal supreme treasure, it was still the most powerful supreme treasure. Logically, it should be able to withstand all attacks, although Jian Wushuang's Wuxia Divine Sword was an upper-grade principle-based supreme treasure. He could not fully pierce through it because he could not unleash its true power. However, Jian Wushuang did not need to pierce through it. He just needed to let the tip of the sword touch the supreme treasure armor. The moment the tip of the sword touched the supreme treasure armor, the drop of venom from the Wuxia Divine Sword instantly rushed toward the supreme true treasure armor. The supreme true treasure armor at the supreme grade was corroded and collapsed at this moment. The venom continued to corrode, and in the next moment, it finally entered Thunderstar Lord's divine body. Thunderstar Lord's eyes were wide open. No! With a hysterical roar, Thunderstar Lord did not even have time to struggle before his divine body collapsed. His divine power was completely corroded, and the sound was completely cut off. The purple thunderbolts in the sky dissipated, and Thunderstar Lord died. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang appeared in the void where Thunderstar Lord died. He looked down at the treasure left behind by Thunderstar Lord and was shocked. It's too terrifying. Although I had guessed that the poison was very terrifying, I didn't expect it to be so terrifying. Thunderstar Lord is a 5th-level ruler, and he is very powerful. However, in just a moment he died. Even the supreme treasure armor on his body was corroded. Jian Wushuang sighed. Even he was like this, and the experts watching the battle around the drill ground were even more shocked beyond words. The Star Lord is dead? How is that possible? The Star Lord is a 5th-level ruler. How could he die at the hands of a 2nd-level ruler? Impossible. This is impossible. The experts of Thunderstar Lord felt like they were going crazy. Over the long years, the Thunderstar Lord had always been an invincible existence in the Thunderstar Lord's place. Even in the entire purple microgalaxy, he was still an expert who stood at the top of the pyramid. Such an expert was already invincible in a medium-sized star field. Even the Thunderstar Lord himself had once said that he was fearless in the purple microgalaxy. From this, one could see his strength. And that was indeed the case. Over the long years, the Thunderstar Lord had always given people the feeling of invincibility. Whether it was in the Thunderstar Field or in the battles with the other experts of the Star Field, the Thunderstar Lord had always been incomparably powerful. It was precisely because of this that in the hearts of these experts of the Thunderstar Field, they had long been almost blindly worshipping the Thunderstar Lord. But today, they had never imagined that the Thunderstar Lord would actually die. He was killed by a 2nd-level ruler in front of everyone. Shock, fear, and disbelief appeared in everyone's minds. Jian Wushuang had already waved his hand and put the treasures left by the Thunderstar Lord into his interspatial ring. Then, he looked at the sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect with interest. Not good. The sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect was like a frightened bird. As soon as he sensed Jian Wushuang's gaze, he immediately retreated without hesitation, desperately trying to distance himself from Jian Wushuang. He knew very well that it was Thunder Lord who had begged him to deal with Jian Wushuang. He wanted to use Thunder Lord to kill Jian Wushuang. Even if he could not kill Jian Wushuang, he had to punish him properly. Who would have thought that not only did Thunderstar Lord fail to kill Jian Wushuang, but he was killed instead. So now, could Jian Wushuang spare him? Shuang-er, let's go. Unexpectedly, Jian Wushuang did not attack the sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect. Instead, he called his wife and Devil Flame and left the Universal Poison Demon sect. To Jian Wushuang, the sect master of the Universal Poison Demon sect was nothing in his eyes. It did not matter whether he killed him or not. However, because Leng Rushuang had already said that the enmity between him and Leng Rushue was over, Jian Wushuang did not intend to have any contact with Leng Rushue in the future, and Leng Rushue was from the Universal Poison Demon sect. Therefore, Jian Wushuang spared her life. Under the gaze of countless experts, Jian Wushuang and the other two left the Universal Poison Demon sect and soon disappeared into the horizon. The martial arts practice field was already in an uproar. In the camp of the Universal Poison Demon sect, the experts of the Universal Poison Demon sect were all shocked. Among the crowd, Leng Rushue gritted her teeth and looked in the direction where Jian Wushuang and the other two had left. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect you to be so strong after so many years. You even killed Star Lord. And that bitch, she has been sleeping for so many years. But her strength is even stronger than mine. Lung Rushue clenched her hands and her eyes were cold. Just you wait. You are stronger than me now, but it won't be long before I surpass you. I will. Lung Rushue had already regarded Lung Rushuang and Jian Wushuang as her targets. However, what Lung Rushue did not know was that both Jian Wushuang and Leng Rushuang had a much greater innate advantage than him. Needless to say, Jian Wushuang was not only at the perfect life level, but also possessed an astral world. He had unlimited potential. Lung Rushuang had also fused with the heart of the astral world. Her innate advantage was definitely greater than her body of woe poison. Just now, Leng Rushue was already inferior to the two of them. In the future, the gap would only be greater. Moreover, they probably would not have the chance to meet again in the future. After leaving the Universal Poison Demon Sect, Jian Wushuang and the others had finished their business in the Purple Microgalaxy. Naturally, they did not stay any longer and quickly left the Thunderstar world. In the universe void of the Purple Microstar Road, the ancient universe boat slowly moved forward. In the universe boat, Jian Wushuang was examining the treasures and interspatial rings left behind by the Thunderstar Lord after his death. He is indeed a second-class astral world ruler of a medium-sized star field. His wealth is much more than that of the Devil Cloud Star Lord. Even compared to Nine Whiskers, the ascetic cultivator we met in the Purple Microstar River, Nine Whiskers' wealth is far inferior to that of the Thunderstar Lord if it were not for the venom, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Nine Whiskers was an ascetic cultivator, and he had been to many territories and killed many great beings. He had even killed a fifth-level ruler, so he had an extraordinary family background. Of course, the most precious thing was the venom that he had gotten back then. Putting aside the venom, Nine Whiskers' total was probably less than 4,000 universe primitives. However, Thunderstar Lord had almost 4,000 origin stones in his universe ring. In addition to all kinds of valuable resources and the green spear used by Thunderstar Lord himself, the green spear should be a mid-grade principal true treasure, and its value was also very high. All of these added up, Thunderstar Lord's total wealth should be close to 8,000 universe origin stones. His wealth was already close to that of an ultimate-level ruler. It's already impressive for an ordinary fifth-level ruler to be worth 1,000 to 2,000 universe origin stones. However, Thunderstar Lord is a ruler of a second-level astral world and has been staying in the Purple Microgalaxy for a long time. He's at the top, so it's easy for him to plunder treasures. It's normal for him to be so rich, Devil Flame said with a sigh. Jian Wushuang also nodded slightly. As a fifth-level ruler and a second-level star world ruler in a medium-sized star field, if he was good at collecting money, he could indeed accumulate a lot of universe origin stones over a long period of time. If it were other fifth-level rulers, they definitely would not have such wealth. Of course, no matter how good he was at collecting money, he could not be compared with an ultimate-level ruler. Jian Wushuang had heard from Devil Flame that an ultimate ruler, even if he was relatively poor, would have tens of thousands of universe origin stones, and the stronger ones would have hundreds of thousands of universe origin stones. As for the ultimate ruler, he could easily get more than 1 million universe origin stones. Compared to those ultimate rulers, the amount of universe origin stones Jian Wushuang got was just a drop in the bucket. I got a lot of source stones when I killed Nine Whiskers. Now that I killed Thunderstar Lord, I got more. I don't need these source stones for now, but I can buy you a suitable nomological true treasure armor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The principal true treasure armor? Lung Rushuang was shocked, but then she shook her head. Husband, you still don't have the principal true treasure armor. Before Lung Rushuang could finish her words, I'm different from you, Jian Wushuang interrupted her. I'm a perfect life-level cultivator with boundless divine power. I've also cultivated the supreme eternal celestial body. Although it's only the third level, my divine body is still comparable to the supreme true treasure armor. Once I cultivate to the fourth level, my divine body will be comparable to an ordinary low-grade principal true treasure armor. Therefore, ordinary principal true treasure armor is useless to me. But you are different. Although your current battle strength is not bad, your life-saving ability is not very strong. The universe is too dangerous. Although I will always be by your side, if there is a sudden danger, I may not be able to protect you in time. Therefore, you must find a way to improve your life-saving ability. Jian Wushuang said solemnly. It was true. He and his wife were adventuring in the universe. He was not worried if they encountered danger, but he was only worried about his wife. After all, Lung Rushuang's life-saving ability was not as heaven-defying as his. I understand. Lung Rushuang nodded and stopped insisting. In fact, Ruler taught me a life-saving secret skill. It's just that it's very difficult to cultivate it. I'm only barely at the beginning. As for my body protection ability, I'm indeed a little lacking. That's good. I'll go to the 9 Emperor Pavilion again and choose a suitable principal type Supreme Treasure Armor for you. Jian Wushuang smiled. Immediately, the three went to the 9 Emperor Pavilion again, and Chief Balmer received them. Chief Balmer, I need a low-grade principal type Supreme Treasure Armor, Jian Wushuang said. No problem. This is the principal type Supreme Treasure Armor that the 9 Emperor Pavilion can take out immediately. They're all low-grade. You can take a look. Balmer immediately took out a list. Although it was a list, in fact, there were only 4 principal true treasure armors on it. This was normal. The purple microgalaxy was only a medium-sized star field, and the strongest person in it was only a 5th-level ruler. An ordinary 5th-level ruler could hardly afford a principal true treasure armor. The price is really expensive. Jian Wushuang looked at the price of the 4 principal true treasure armors on the list. Even the cheapest of the 4 principal type Supreme Treasure Armors was worth more than 1,200 Universe Origin Stones, and the most expensive sword was worth 1,800 Origin Stones. After all, Jian Wushuang estimated that the Soul Defense type Supreme Treasure he obtained after killing 9 Whiskers would not be worth more than 2,000 Origin Stones. In terms of type, this Principal type Supreme Treasure Armor was slightly inferior to a Soul Defense type Supreme Treasure. The price of a Principal Supreme Treasure Armor is much more valuable than an Attack Supreme Treasure. Under normal circumstances, it's usually 10 times more expensive. Some lower-grade Principal Supreme Treasure Armors with stronger protective effects are even as valuable as an ordinary middle-grade Attack Supreme Treasure, Balmer said. If you want to buy it, then buy the best one. I'll take this Heart Jade Emperor Blood Armor, Jian Wushuang said directly. Husband. Lung Rushuang glanced at Jian Wushuang. The Heart Jade Emperor Blood Armor was the most expensive one on the list of Supreme Treasures. It was worth 1,800 Origin Stones. This is an Origin Stone. Jian Wushuang took out an interspatial ring. There were exactly 1,800 Origin Stones in it. After taking it, Balmer briefly scanned it with his consciousness. He nodded and said, "Wait a moment. I'll send someone to deliver this armor right away." Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry and just waited. Halfway through, Jian Wushuang suddenly asked, "Chief Balmer, there's something I want to ask you." "Blood Sword, please go ahead." Balmer was still as enthusiastic as ever. "I know that the 9 Emperor Pavilion has influence in every corner of the universe. The universe passage in the 9 Emperor Pavilion should be very comprehensive, right?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Universe passage?" Balmer raised his eyebrows and then smiled. "Yes, it's very comprehensive. If the 9 Emperor Pavilion wants to, we can easily reach the core territory of the universe from the edge of the universe. However, it will cost a lot of money to travel such a long distance. For an ordinary ruler, it's definitely an astronomical figure. I don't want to go directly to the core of the universe from here. I just want to go to the 9 Luminaries Galaxy. I wonder if the 9 Emperor Pavilion has a direct access to the universe." Jian Wushuang asked. 9 Luminaries Galaxy? The star map of the 9 Luminaries Galaxy immediately appeared in Balmer's mind. But then he smiled. The 9 Luminaries Galaxy is indeed not the core of the universe. It's not too far from the purple microgalaxy where we are now. Of course, the 9 Emperor Pavilion has a direct access to the 9 Luminaries Galaxy. But I'm afraid you can't use it, Blood Sword. "Why?" Jian Wushuang looked at him with a frown. "Blood Sword. There's something you may not know. Although the universe passage of the Nine Emperor Pavilion covers every corner of the universe, it's not open to the public. Not open to the public? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Yes, even I, a subordinate of the Nine Emperor Pavilion and a supervisor of the Purple Microgalaxy, have some authority, let alone you. In fact, even the lords with 1 or 2 levels higher authority than me in the Nine Emperor Pavilion are not qualified to use the long-distance universe passages of the Nine Emperor Pavilion. Only some of the core experts in the Nine Emperor Pavilion are qualified to use these universe passages, and almost all of them are supreme experts, Balmer said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang immediately understood. Even Balmer and the experts from the Nine Emperor Pavilion who were 1 or 2 levels higher than him were not qualified to use those long-distance universe passageways, so what right did he have? Bloodsword, you are a genius expert on the Nine Emperor list and a friend of the Nine Emperor Pavilion. If you really need it, you can use those universe passageways, but the price to pay is very high, Balmer said. How much do I have to pay to go directly from the Purple Microgalaxy to the Nine Luminaries' Great Star Field? Jian Wushuang asked immediately. I don't know the exact number, but I estimate it to be at least millions of universe origin stones, Balmer said. Hearing this number, Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes, but he no longer had the idea of using the universe passage. Millions of universe origin stones? What a joke! All of his assets added up, he could only break 10,000 universe origin stones, which was only a few hundreds. It seems that it's impossible to go directly to the Nine Luminaries' Great Star Field. I can only take the universe boat and travel slowly. Jian Wushuang was also full of helplessness. In a short while, someone from the Nine Emperor Pavilion brought the Heart Jade Emperor blood armor over. The blood-red armor was crystal clear and looked like a layer of glass. Shuang-er, try refining it, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Lung Rushuang nodded and immediately began refining the Heart Jade Emperor blood armor. The requirements for refining a low-grade principal treasure were also quite harsh. Lung Rushuang was not weak at the moment. Although she had spent some time, she had successfully refined the armor. After refining it, the Heart Jade Emperor's blood armor turned into a layer of blood-red green robe and draped over Lung Rushuang's body. It made the already cold and arrogant Lung Rushuang look even more gorgeous. How do you feel? Jian Wushuang asked. Very good. The armor's protective ability is very good. It's much stronger than ordinary supreme treasures. However, the most powerful thing is the 4 levels of power contained in the armor. The first level of power alone is enough to greatly increase my strength. Moreover, with my current strength, I can activate the first level of power, Lung Rushuang said. Oh! Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Generally, the supreme treasure armor did have its own power, but it was not easy to activate it. In Jian Wushuang's opinion, the power of the principal supreme treasure armor could only be activated by comprehending a trace of the universe principle, but now it seemed that it was not so. The 4 levels of power in the armor require a high level of comprehension of the universe principle. However, the first level only requires a certain level of contact with the universe principle and a relatively simple use of the power of the principles contained in it. Although I have not comprehended the universe principle, I have been following you around all the time. I often see you comprehending the universe principle, so I naturally have some contact with it. Therefore, I just happened to reach the threshold of activating the first level of power, Lung Rushuang said with a smile. That's good. A smile appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. Soon, the 3 of them continued their journey. They left the Purple Microgalaxy in the universe boat and entered the vast universe void. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, 18,000 years had passed. During these 18,000 years, Jian Wushuang spent most of his time in the vast universe void. Occasionally, when he passed by some star fields, he would stay in those star fields for a while. He would taste the delicacies and specialties of these star fields. It had to be said that Jian Wushuang's knowledge had improved a lot after passing through these star fields. In the universe boat, Jian Wushuang and Lung Rushuang casually sat there. On the table, there were some brightly colored fruits. These fruits were all obtained from the small star field that they had just passed by. Husband, the people from the Thunder Dragon star field were really enthusiastic. They gave us so many fruits before they left. These fruits are enough for us to eat for tens of thousands of years, Leng Rushuang said with a smile. Enthusiastic. Jian Wushuang touched his nose. He knew very well that apart from their enthusiasm, it was mainly because their strength was so strong that they were in awe of them. That was why they would try their best to please them. After all, the strongest ruler in a small starfield was only a fourth-level ruler. When Jian Wushuang arrived in that area, he had a dispute with a fourth-level ruler and defeated him with one move. After that, the fourth-level ruler was in awe of them. The fourth-level ruler ordered people to prepare the fruits. Although the universe is vast, strength is always the most important thing. As long as you are strong enough, you can easily suppress many star fields. The cultivators in those star fields are naturally terrified and can only try to curry favor with you. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. Although his current strength was nothing in the vast universe, he was definitely a top expert in small or medium-sized star fields. He was definitely worthy of respect. Unfortunately, in the past 18,000 years, I have made great progress in the universal principle and the sword principle. However, I still haven't integrated the sixth principle in the principle of heaven and earth. Jian Wushuang sighed, feeling helpless. Back when he was in the divine beginning realm, the sixth principle he had comprehended, the dark principle, was already just one step away from fusing with the other five principles. However, all these years, up until now, so much time had passed, there were still no signs of complete fusion. After all, he had not abandoned his cultivation in these years. Moreover, because he had grasped the divine beginning realm's will of heavenly Tao, he was able to comprehend and fuse the principles very quickly. For example, in these 18,000 years, he had completely comprehended the seventh principle, but he still could not completely fuse the sixth principle. I can't help it. It's easy to comprehend the universe principle, but it becomes more and more difficult to fuse it. It's because I have mastered the heavenly Tao will of the divine beginning realm that I can comprehend the principle so quickly, but it still takes a long time to fuse it, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. For example, Devil Cloud Ruler's strength increased dramatically after he took over the divine beginning realm, but his progress stopped for a long time after he reached the third-level ruler. In the end, he finally broke through to the fourth-level ruler. In terms of talent and comprehension, Jian Wushuang was definitely stronger than Devil Cloud Star Lord. However, he had only cultivated for a short period of time. Husband, don't worry. Although your realm hasn't improved, your strength has been improving. If you go all out now, you'll be close to the peak of the fifth-level ruler, right? Leng Rushuang looked at him. Seeing Leng Rushuang, Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. In the past 18,000 years, he had not integrated the sixth principle, but Leng Rushuang was one step ahead of him. Now that she had integrated the six principles and become a third-level ruler, she was completely ahead of him in terms of realm. The integration of principles, especially at my current level, can only wait and rely on opportunities. Jian Wushuang smiled. But you're right. Although I can't fuse principles, my strength has been improving, especially in the universe principles. I've been improving all these years, and now I don't even know what level my comprehension of the universe principles has reached. Devil Flame, you're very knowledgeable. Can you tell me if there's a way to let me know the specific level of my comprehension of the universe principles? At the very least, I need something to refer to, Jian Wushuang said. He really did not know what level his understanding of the universal principles had reached. All he knew was that he was much stronger than before. 18,000 years later, Devil Flame had already refined and absorbed all the special crystals he had obtained, and his divine body had recovered to about 40%. With about 40% of his divine body, Devil Flame's realm had recovered to the peak of the fourth-level ruler, which was infinitely close to the fifth level. His battle strength was undoubtedly at the fifth level. Even among the fifth-level rulers, he was extremely strong. Upon hearing Jian Wushuang's question, Devil Flame hurriedly said, "Ruler, there are many ways to judge the comprehension of universal principles in the vast universe, but the most convincing one is the Principle C." Principle C? What is that, the universal Principle C? Jian Wushuang asked in puzzlement. No, Devil Flame shook his head. Principle C is actually a test for the comprehension of universe principles. There are 33 levels of Principle C, corresponding to 33 different levels of the comprehension of universe principles. The principle C was created by an ruler force at the core of the universe. It was later widely used in the universe. Most of the top experts in the universe, like those supreme experts, use the principle C as a standard to judge their comprehension of the universe's principles. The first level of the principle C requires one to ruler a trace of the universe's principles to pass it. As for the highest level, the 33rd level, it is said to be the limit of the universe's principles. It means that one has completely mastered the entire universe's principles. However, there are only a handful of such supreme experts in the entire universe. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang was non-committal. The universe principle was the supreme principle of the vast universe. Even supreme experts could barely enter it. The 33rd level of the principle C represented the complete rulery of the universe principle. Naturally, it was not something that an ordinary person could pass. Perhaps even a top-tier supreme expert, or even an invincible supreme expert like planet ruler Lingyun, would not be able to pass it. My comprehension of the universe's principles is no longer the same as before. If I go to the principle C, I should be able to pass more than the first level. However, I still have to try how many levels I can pass. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Then he raised his head and said, "Devil Flame, you just said that the principle C has been widely used in the vast universe. There should be many places where I can pass the principle C, right? Not many places have it." Devil Flame said seriously, "After all, the universe principle is too high-end. Only supreme experts are qualified to comprehend it. Only a few talented rulers are qualified to comprehend it. However, because the level is too high, ordinary small and medium-sized star fields don't need the principle C. Therefore, this principle C can only be found in large star fields." A large-scale star field? Jian Wushuang was stunned. A large-scale star field had a first-class star field, and it definitely had an ultimate-level ruler. Some of the stronger large-scale star fields even had supreme beings. However, the vast universe mostly had small-scale star fields and medium-scale star fields. As for large-scale star fields, they were only common in the depths of the universe. As for the edge of the universe, although there were very few. Jian Wushuang and the others had passed by many star fields along the way, but none of them had passed by large star fields. "Husband, if I remember correctly, let's continue forward. After passing through 2 small star fields, we will arrive at a large star field, the bone pupil star field," Lang Rushuang said. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and a huge star map immediately appeared in the void in front of him. On the star map, Jian Wushuang soon saw the location of the bone pupil star field. Yes, the bone pupil star field is the only path we have to take, and it's not far from where we are now. If we take the universe boat without any delay, we can arrive there in a few hundred years. Jian Wushuang smiled. The star map had an introduction about the bone pupil star field. The bone pupil star field was indeed a large star field. There were not only level 1 star fields, but also 2. There were even more level 2 and level 3 star fields. There are even 2 level 1 star fields in the bone pupil star field. There must be a principle C in there. "Let's go to the bone pupil star field first," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The universe boat flew through the universe void at the fastest speed. After only 300 years, they arrived in the bone pupil star field. In the core area of the bone pupil star field, an island was floating in the void space. The island was quiet. Normally, since this island was in the core area of the bone pupil star field, there should be many great beings passing by. However, in fact, this island was almost uninhabited in the bone pupil star field. Although the great beings of the bone pupil star field knew about the existence of this island, they almost did not come here. On the island, there was an endless sea. At the edge of the sea, a brown-haired old man sat there with his eyes closed. He did not move at all. The brown-haired old man had been sitting on the island in the same position for hundreds of thousands of years. He had not moved for hundreds of thousands of years. If people did not know that, they would think that he had died a long time ago. But suddenly, the brown-haired elder suddenly opened his eyes, revealing his slightly turbid pupils. "Someone is coming?" Sure enough, 3 figures rushed over from not far away and soon arrived at the edge of the ocean. "Halt!" the brown-haired elder said slowly. Jian Wushuang and the other 2 stopped. "Ruler, the principal sea is ahead. Although it looks like an ordinary ocean, in fact, you will find this principal sea after you walk along it. It has a different world," Devil Flame said. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and looked at the brown-haired elder who was sitting casually below. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang and the other 2 flew down and arrived in front of the brown-haired elder. "I'm Xue Jian. My wife and one of my guards are beside me. We passed by and heard that there is a principal sea here that can determine the level of comprehension of the universe's principles. We came here to have a look," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. "The principal sea is not something that just anyone can see. It requires a certain level of comprehension of the universe's principles. However, among the 3 of you, the strongest one is only a 4th-level ruler. I wonder which one of you has comprehended a trace of the universe's principles." The brown-haired elder looked over with a light gaze. "It's me," Jian Wushuang said. "Oh." The brown-haired elder looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of surprise in his heart. He could tell at a glance that Jian Wushuang was only a 2nd-level ruler. It was rare for a 2nd-level ruler to be able to comprehend a trace of the principles of the universe. "I am Gue Yun, the guardian of the principal sea," the brown-haired elder said. "Guardian?" Jian Wushuang was puzzled. "Ruler, every principal sea in the universe has a guardian. As for the purpose of this guardian's existence, I don't know. However, it should be related to the top force behind the creation of the principal sea," Devil Flame said softly. Jian Wushuang understood that the top force in the depths of the universe created the principal sea and spread it throughout the universe. It was impossible for the geniuses of the universe to enter it without a purpose. If you want to enter the principal sea, you must first show whether you have really comprehended a trace of the universe's principles. "After all, seeing is believing," said the guardian, Gue Yun. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded and then waved his hand. A trace of the power of the universe principle instantly condensed in his palm. Gue Yun's eyes immediately lit up. "It really is the universe principle. It's amazing that a 2nd-level ruler can comprehend a trace of the universe principle. Although the bone pupil star field is a large star field and there are many rulers, only one has really comprehended a trace of the universe principle. Moreover, that one has only comprehended a trace of the universe principle at the 4th-level ruler level." Jian Wushuang listened calmly, but he found it funny. After all, he had comprehended a trace of universe principle at the level of principal ruler, not the 2nd-level ruler. "Well, it proves that you have comprehended a trace of universe principle, so you can go to the principal sea." Gue Yun smiled and waved at the endless sea in front of him. Splash! The endless sea rolled crazily, and the power of the formation rose in the sea. "Go," Gue Yun said. Jian Wushuang nodded and rushed to the principal sea without hesitation. As soon as he entered the principal sea, Jian Wushuang disappeared in front of Lung Rushuang and the others. Apparently, Jian Wushuang had begun the test of the 1st level of the principal sea. "Devil Flame, you know more about the principal sea. How many levels do you think you can pass with your husband's comprehension of the universe principles?" Lung Rushuang asked. "Madam, although I used to be an ultimate ruler, I haven't comprehended any of the universe principles. I haven't really tried the principal sea, but I've heard that there are 33 levels in the principal sea, and each level has a step. Ruler's comprehension of the universe principles has improved greatly over the years, so it shouldn't be difficult to pass the first 3 levels. As for whether I can pass the 4th level, I don't know," Devil Flame said. "Passing the first 3 levels isn't difficult?" When Gue Yun heard Devil Flame's words, he started laughing. "You're underestimating this principal sea a little too much. Although the principal sea has 33 levels, and indeed every 3 levels has a step, the gap between each level is still very big. Under normal circumstances, as long as one grasps a trace of the universe principles, they can pass the 1st level. However, the 2nd level requires a certain level of comprehension toward the universe principles, and the 3rd level requires one to truly step into the threshold of the universe principles. Your ruler is only a second-level ruler, so he must have just been exposed to the universe principles. It's no problem for him to pass the first level, but I'm afraid the second level will be difficult. I think he can only pass the second level. Not necessarily. Devil Flame glanced at Guiyun. Lung Rushuang just smiled faintly. Guiyun did not know Jian Wushuang very well. Moreover, when Jian Wushuang displayed the universal principle, he did only show a trace of the universal principle. This made Guiyun think that Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the universal principle was not high, so he said so. However, Leng Rushuang and Devil Flame had a certain understanding of Jian Wushuang. They knew that Jian Wushuang had already grasped a trace of the universal principle at the level of principal ruler, and because he had mastered the divine will of the divine beginning realm over the years, his progress in the universe principle was even more rapid. They all knew that Jian Wushuang had entered the threshold of the universe principle a long time ago. Guiyun's expression changed. He has passed the first level and is heading to the second level. Guiyun was not surprised that Jian Wushuang had passed the first level. However, not long after Jian Wushuang passed the first level, Guiyun sensed that Jian Wushuang had passed the second level again. He passed the second level? Guiyun was surprised. My ruler is much more powerful than I thought. Devil Flame glanced at Guiyun and said with a faint smile, maybe, but he shouldn't be able to pass the third level. Guiyun still insisted on his judgment. The power of the magic formation surged crazily in the Principal Sea. Unfortunately, they could not see Jian Wushuang pass the Principal Sea. After Jian Wushuang passed the second level, Guiyun knew that Jian Wushuang had passed the third level. He really passed the third level? Guiyun was really shocked. One had to know that the third level required the comprehension of the universe principles to truly cross the threshold. It was extremely difficult to reach this step. Many rulers who had just broken through would take an extremely long period of time to truly reach the threshold of the principles of the universe. For a second-tier ruler to be able to pass the third level of the Principal Sea meant that he had to be one of the most supreme geniuses in the entire universe. TSK. This is going to be interesting. A second-tier ruler who is able to pass the first 3 levels of the Principal Sea. Those two should be very interested, right? A strange smile appeared on Guiyun's face. Following that, he took out 2 command talismans and sent 2 messages over. The Bone Pupil Starfield had 2 first-level starfields, the Golden Feather Starfield and the Blue Flame Starfield. The Star Lords of these 2 first-level starfields were both final-level rulers, and they were both extremely powerful. As the saying goes, one mountain cannot contain 2 tigers. There were 2 first-level starfields in a starfield, and they were the only 2 final rulers. Naturally, the battles between these 2 starfields were very intense. But today, both Golden Feather Star-Lord and Green Flame Star-Lord received a message from Guiyun, the protector of the Principal Sea. A second-class ruler is challenging the Principal Sea, and he has already passed the first 3 levels. Upon receiving this message, the 2 Star-Lords were immediately alarmed. The 3rd level of the Principal Sea? That is the threshold of the principles of the universe. Many rulers who have just broken through are only at this level of comprehension of the principles of the universe, right? If such a super genius can become a disciple of my Golden Feather Star sector, then why should I be afraid of that disciple of Green Flame? Golden Feather Star Lord's eyes shone with an unprecedented brilliance. The next moment, he rode the universe passageway within Golden Feather Star sector and rushed toward the island where Principal Sea was located at the fastest speed possible. Azure Flame Astral World. Under the jade blue sky, it was a purgatory. The entire boundless land was being crazily burned by a blazing fire. This blazing fire had a strange purplish-black color. It had been burning on this land for countless years, yet it had never been extinguished. The cultivators of the Green Flame Star world, not to mention the rulers of principles, even some extremely powerful rulers did not dare to easily set foot on this land. After all, if a ruler stayed on this land for a slightly longer period of time, it was possible for them to be burned to ashes by the blazing flames of this land. However, under this vile illusion, a devilish purple-clothed youth was located at the very center of the blazing flames of this land. Endless purplish-black flames were wildly burning. To this devilish purple-clothed youth, it was like nourishment for him. He was training on this land, just like a fish in water, incomparably comfortable. Right at this moment, a human figure suddenly descended. Disciple! The green flame star lord appeared in front of the violet-robed devilish youth. Ruler, why are you here? The violet-robed devilish youth raised his head in surprise. Something has happened. Disciple, come with me. The green flame star lord spoke. Oh! The violet-robed devilish youth could not help but stand up, asking in puzzlement. What is it? Guiyun, who is guarding the Principal C, just sent me a message saying that a second-level ruler is currently challenging the Principal C, and has already passed the first 3 levels. The green flame star lord said. What? The violet-robed, devilish-looking youth was shocked. But then his expression turned extremely grave. He now knew why his ruler, the green flame star lord, had come looking for him. This was because he was the only person in the entire bone pupil star field who had comprehended the principles of the universe. He was also known as the publicly acknowledged #1 genius of this star field. However, he had only comprehended a sliver of the principles of the universe at the 4th level ruler level. Up until now, he was still only at the 4th level ruler level. However, in terms of the principles of the universe, he had been able to pass the 2nd level of the Principal C not long ago. However, the difference between the 2nd and 3rd levels of the Principal C was already enormous. Furthermore, the other party was only a 2nd level ruler. Let's go to the Principal C. Green Flame Star Lord waved his hand and immediately rushed toward the Principal C with his disciple, the evil purple-clothed youth. At the edge of the Principal C, the look of shock on the watchman Gue Yun's face had disappeared and was replaced by a faint smile. He was also quite happy. It was known that the reason why he, the watchman, existed was to dig out some super geniuses hidden in the universe. Jian Wushuang, who could pass the 3rd level of the Principal C as a 2nd-level ruler, must be one of the top geniuses. A 2nd-level ruler can pass the 3rd level of the Principal C. He is qualified for me to report it. Well, don't worry. Let's wait for him to finish, Guiyun said with a smile. Suddenly, Guiyun opened his eyes wide. The 4th level? He was completely stunned. It was already incredible for a 2nd-level ruler to pass the 3rd level of the Principal C. However, he had just learned that Jian Wushuang had passed the 4th level of the Principal C. After all, there were 3 steps in the Principal C, from the 3rd level to the 4th level. It was a huge leap, but Jian Wushuang had also passed it. He has already entered the 5th level. Could it be that he can still pass the 5th level? Guiyun gulped, his eyes shining brightly. He was already looking forward to it. The 5th level of the Principal C. Jian Wushuang was still standing on the vast ocean, and in front of him was a cyan-robed elder. Jian Wushuang was no stranger to this cyan-robed elder, because he had met him on the previous 4 levels. However, the strength he displayed was different on different levels. You have a bright future as a 2nd-level ruler. The cyan-robed elder looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of admiration in his eyes. Please give me some guidance, senior. Jian Wushuang was quite humble. Just like the first 4 levels, if you defeat me, you will be able to enter the 6th level. The cyan-robed elder smiled slightly and then directly attacked. Boom! The ocean below suddenly surged up. The cyan-robed elder held a pitch-black long staff in his hand. The long staff was like the waves in the ocean, crushing toward Jian Wushuang in a mighty manner. It was not very powerful, and the universe origin of the staff principle was not very strong. However, the long staff contained an extremely rich power of the universe principles. Jian Wushuang immediately moved. He held the Wuxia divine sword in one hand, and a large amount of the power of the universe principles swept up and met it directly. Clang! 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 The two crazily collided on the surface of the ocean. They constantly competed in speed and power. In the blink of an eye, they had met hundreds of times. Suddenly, the cyan-robed elder twisted his wrist casually, and the black longstaff suddenly split into 2 in the void. The 2 black longstaffs smashed toward Jian Wushuang almost at the same time. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. It's the same attack. I can't tell which one is real and which one is fake. What's going on? Jian Wushuang was confused. The cyan-robed elder did not use a special movement technique or secret skill. Instead, he relied on his comprehension of the power of principles to change his attack from 1 to 2, and they were exactly the same. Jian Wushuang could not see any flaws at all. Boom! Jian Wushuang urged his comprehension of the principles of the universe and tried his best to use his swordsmanship to block the 2 stick shadows. However, in the Principle C, with the same divine power, the same comprehension of the Tao, and even the same speed, he could not block the 2 stick shadows at the same time. Jian Wushuang tried his best to block one of the stick shadows, but the stick shadow turned into an illusion, and the other stick shadow hit Jian Wushuang's divine body without any resistance. Jian Wushuang immediately retreated. It took him a while to regain his balance on the surface of the sea, and the crazy sea finally calmed down. Little guy, you lost. The cyan-robed elder looked at Jian Wushuang calmly. How could this be? Jian Wushuang frowned. He did not expect that he would lose like this. Most importantly, when he fought with the cyan-robed old man, he clearly sensed that the cyan-robed old man's comprehension of the universe principles was worse than his. Yes, he did not know how high the cyan-robed old man's comprehension of the universe principles was. However, in the 5th level of the Principle C, his comprehension of the universe principles was indeed inferior to his. However, when the 2 of them fought, he lost. Little guy, do you find it incredible? The green-robed elder looked over at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. I can feel that your comprehension of the universal principles is slightly worse than mine, but you easily defeated me on the premise that everything else is the same. Haha, this is actually very easy to understand. The same comprehension of the power of the universal principles, but in the hands of different people, the strength displayed is not much. In the end, it is in the grasp and application of the universal principles. The green-clothed elder laughed. Grasp and application of the universal principles? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Just like the principles of heaven and earth, the universal principles are an extremely transcendental and powerful force. It is naturally important to grasp this kind of power. Just like a peerless sword, in the hands of an ordinary person and in the hands of a peerless swordsman, the power displayed is completely different. The green-clothed elder laughed. Your comprehension of the principles of the universe is already considered quite high. At least, it's higher than the comprehension of the principles of the universe that I can display at the 5th level of the Principle C. Unfortunately, your grasp and application of the principles of the universe are too crude. You only know how to fuse the power of the principles into your sword techniques and into your own attacks. Naturally, the effect of the power of the principles that you can display isn't much stronger. Although my power of principles is lower than yours, I can ruler and use them well, but my battle strength is stronger than yours. After saying that, the green-robed elder looked at Jian Wushuang again. Little guy, you are good at sword principle. If you have a ruler behind you, you can ask your ruler to find a secret manual for the use of the universe principles that is compatible with your swordsmanship. Learn more about the basic application and control of the universe principles. This will greatly increase your strength. I understand. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Jian Wushuang quickly thanked him. Okay, go. The green-clothed elder waved his hand. Jian Wushuang immediately found that he could not control his body and flew backward. Soon, he flew out of the Principle C and came to the outside of the Principle C. Lung Rushuang and Devil Flame immediately came up to him. Husband, how do you feel? Lung Rushuang asked. I've gained a lot, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He had gained a lot from this trip to the Principle C. First of all, he knew that his current comprehension of the universe principles was at the 4th level of the Principle C, which was still far from the 5th level. Of course, this matter was secondary to Jian Wushuang. The real gain was that in the 5th level of the Principle C, the cyan-robed elder's guidance made him realize that his application and grasp of the universe principles were too rough, it was too crude. As the cyan-robed old man had said, although his understanding of the universal principles was not low, he only knew how to apply the universal principles to his swordsmanship and attack power. But in fact, the magical use of the universal principles was far more than that. It was just that no one had taught him, and there were no secret manuals for him to control and cultivate the use of the universal principles. He himself did not realize this. But now he finally realized it. "Ha! My young friend Bloodsword, you are very capable." A hearty laughter rang out. The watchman, Gue Yun, looked at Jian Wushuang with a strange glint in his eyes. At the same time, Gue Yun finally revealed his divine power aura. He was a 5th-level ruler, and his aura was obviously much stronger than the one Jian Wushuang had met in the purple microgalaxy, Thunder. The peak of the 5th level? Jian Wushuang was secretly surprised. He was only a guardian of the Principal Sea, but he was also so strong. No wonder Gue Yun called him Little Friend now. Little Friend Bloodsword, if I'm not wrong, you're not a native cultivator of the Bone Pupil star field, right? Gue Yun asked. Yes, we're from another star field. We just happened to pass by this place and knew there was a Principal Sea here, so we came here to explore. We'll leave soon, Jian Wushuang replied. No wonder. If you are a cultivator from the Bone Pupil star field, you must be very famous in the Bone Pupil star field. Gue Yun smiled and said, You will leave soon? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Well, it's a pity. If the Golden Feather Star Lord knew about this, he would be very disappointed. Gue Yun sighed. Golden Feather Star Lord? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He naturally knew that Golden Feather Star Lord was an ultimate ruler of the 2 first-class star worlds in the Bone Pupil star field. Bloodsword, to tell you the truth, when you pass the 3rd level of the Principal Sea, I sent a message to Golden Feather Star Lord and Green Flame Star Lord respectively. If nothing unexpected happens, they should be here soon, Gue Yun said. Mr. Gue Yun. Jian Wushuang frowned, feeling a bit dissatisfied. He came to the Principal Sea just to have a try and know his comprehension of the universe principles. He did not want to interact with people from the Bone Pupil star field, not to mention the 2 ultimate rulers in the Bone Pupil star field. However, Gue Yun's message immediately attracted the attention of the 2 ultimate rulers. Haha! Bloodsword, don't worry. Golden Feather Star Lord and Green Flame Star Lord have arrived, but they won't harm you. After all, you don't have any grudges with them. They might even be good for you, Gue Yun said with a smile. Oh! Jian Wushuang glanced at Gue Yun and relaxed his eyebrows. Indeed, he had just arrived in the Bone Pupil Galaxy and had no contact with the 2 ultimate rulers. It was impossible for them to find trouble with him for no reason. As for the benefits, Jian Wushuang did not think about it. Oh, the Golden Feather Star Lord has arrived, Gue Yun suddenly said. Jian Wushuang also looked up at the direction outside the island. Sure enough, a figure bathed in golden light was rushing over and soon appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and the others. Gue Yun. Golden Feather Star Lord spoke in a clear voice. He first greeted Gue Yun, then looked at Jian Wushuang and the other 2. With his strength, he could naturally see the realm of Jian Wushuang and the other 2 at a glance. Then, his eyes immediately fixed on Jian Wushuang. After all, Jian Wushuang was the 2nd-level ruler among the 3 of them. Naturally, he was the one who had passed the 3rd level of the Principal Sea. This should be the Bloodsword young friend who passed the 3rd level of the Principal Sea, right? Golden Feather Star Lord came to Jian Wushuang with a smile. Golden Feather Star Lord, it's true that he is Bloodsword young friend, but you're wrong about one thing. Not only did he pass the 3rd level of the Principal Sea, but he also passed the 4th level just now, Gue Yun said with a smile. The 4th level? Golden Feather Star Lord stared. Originally, in his opinion, it was already incredible that this Bloodsword could pass the 3rd level, and the 4th level was even more shocking. Such a super genius if... At the thought of this, Golden Feather Star Lord shook his hand fiercely, making a decision in his heart. You have passed the 4th level of the Principal Sea at the 2nd level. You are really amazing, Bloodsword. Even I admire you, Golden Feather Star Lord said with a smile. His words were obviously full of flattery. Jian Wushuang was slightly surprised. Golden Feather Star Lord had nothing to do with him. Even if his talent was great, he would only praise him a little. How could he praise him? Jian Wushuang wondered if the Star Lord had other motives. Bloodsword, if you don't mind, can you come to my Golden Feather Star world and have a cup of tea? The Star Lord said with a smile. Tea. Jian Wushuang looked strange, but he still nodded and said, Golden Feather Star Lord invited me, so how could I refuse? But forget it. After all, I'm in a hurry, so I'll stay here. Okay. Golden Feather Star Lord waved his hand, and a tea table appeared in front of him. There was a pot of tea and several cups on the table. Golden Feather Star Lord, Jian Wushuang, and the others sat down beside the tea table one after another. Golden Feather Star Lord poured a cup of tea for Jian Wushuang, and he also poured a cup for Lang Rushuang and Gue Yun. As for Devil Flame, he did not sit down at all. Blood Sword, please, Golden Feather Star Lord said with a smile. Jian Wushuang picked up the teacup in his hand and put it on the tip of his nose to sniff it. Instantly, he felt his whole soul relaxed. This tea is not ordinary. Jian Wushuang immediately understood. Without hesitation, he drank a cup of tea with his wife. After drinking the tea, a refreshing feeling entered his stomach, and the effect of the tea immediately came into play. Jian Wushuang only felt that his soul power was wrapped by an extremely warm power. His entire soul was greatly nourished, and his divine body was also strengthened at this moment. Even his body and mind felt relaxed, as if the pressure of hundreds of millions of years had suddenly dissipated. What a strange effect! Jian Wushuang opened his eyes with a hint of surprise. Haha! This is ice spirit tea, a rare treasure of the universe boat. This pot is probably worth 50 origin stones. Even if you have origin stones, you might not be able to buy it. I heard that Golden Feather Star Lord spent a lot of effort to get 3 pots of ice heart tea. Even I can't bear to drink it. Today, thanks to Blood Sword, I can also drink it. Gue Yun smiled. Hearing Gue Yun's words, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Such a pot of tea was worth 50 origin stones? Moreover, it was priceless? However, Jian Wushuang was immediately on guard. Golden Feather Star Lord first praised him and then brought out such a precious and rare tea. Jian Wushuang would not believe that Golden Feather Star Lord did not have other motives. It's just a pot of tea. To be able to produce a super genius like Blood Sword, what's the big deal even if you bring out all 3 pots of iced heart tea? Golden Feather Star Lord said with a smile. Golden Feather Star Lord is really generous. Gue Yun smiled bitterly but did not say anything more. Blood Sword, you said you were in a hurry? What's going on? Golden Feather Star Lord asked. To tell you the truth, we are not cultivators from the Bone Pupil Starfield, but from other starfields. We just happened to pass by this place and knew there was a Principal Sea here, so we came here to try. We planned to leave after we finished the Principal Sea, Jian Wushuang said. Blood Sword, are you in such a hurry to leave? Golden Feather Star Lord frowned. Why? Do you need my help? Jian Wushuang tried to ask. Well, Golden Feather Star Lord did not know what to say. At this moment, Gue Yun laughed and said, Haha, let me be the middleman. Blood Sword, you may not know this, but the situation in the Bone Pupil Galaxy is very delicate. After all, there are 2 grade 1 star worlds in this galaxy. As the saying goes, one mountain cannot contain 2 tigers. 2 grade 1 star worlds are in the same galaxy, so there will naturally be many fights. Over the years, these 2 grade 1 star worlds have been fighting each other, and both sides are like fire and water. However, although both sides are in the first-class astral world and their overall strength is about the same, in terms of the strongest experts, the battle strength of the Golden Feather Star Lord is slightly weaker than that of the Green Flame Star Lord. Oh! Jian Wushuang could not help looking at the Golden Feather Star Lord. I'm ashamed. Although they are both ultimate rulers, the Green Flame Star Lord is indeed much stronger than me. However, my life-saving ability is not weak. Although I can't defeat him alone, it's very difficult for him to predict me, the Golden Feather Star Lord said. In that case, you don't have to be afraid of Green Flame Star Lord, do you? Jian Wushuang asked. He's not afraid, Gue Yun said with a smile. Over the years, the Golden Feather World and Green Flame Star World have never been at a disadvantage. However, something happened not long ago. It's Green Flame Star Lord. He took in a disciple with great talent. He has cultivated for less than 2 million years. Not only has he reached the 4th level ruler level, but he has also comprehended a trace of the universe principle. Not long ago, Green Flame Star Lord's disciple also came to challenge the Principle C and passed the 2nd level in one go. Guiyun paused at this point. As for what happened next, although he did not say it, Jian Wushuang could roughly guess it. Golden Feather Star Lord had always been on par with Green Flame Star Lord, and neither side had an obvious advantage, but now Green Flame Star Lord had an additional disciple who had comprehended a trace of universe principle. This made Golden Feather Star Lord feel threatened. After all, that disciple of Green Flame Star Lord had only cultivated for less than 2 million years, and he was able to comprehend a trace of universe principle at the ruler level. This already showed his talent, and he was definitely the #1 genius in the entire Bone Pupil Great Star field. Moreover, that disciple was already at the 4th level. As long as he was given enough time, he would definitely be able to reach the 5th level and even the ultimate ruler level in time. One had to know that Golden Feather Star Lord was not as powerful as Green Flame Star Lord. He could only protect himself when facing Green Flame Star Lord one-on-one. However, if Green Flame Star Lord had another ultimate ruler who had comprehended a trace of the universe principles by his side, that would definitely not be something Golden Feather Star Lord could contend against. The disciple of Green Flame Star Lord has caused great danger to Golden Feather Star Lord. Thus, from hundreds of thousands of years ago, Golden Feather Star Lord began to think of ways to excavate the geniuses within the Golden Feather Star sector, including the geniuses within the entire Bone Pupil Major Starfield. He longed to nurture a genius who could similarly comprehend a trace of the universe principles at the ruler level. In the future, he would be able to contend against the disciple of Green Flame Star Lord. It's a pity that in the past hundreds of thousands of years, there have been some geniuses born in the Bone Pupil Star field, but none of them have been able to comprehend a trace of the universe principle at the ruler level, Guiyun said with a smile. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He knew very well that it was extremely difficult for a ruler to comprehend a trace of the universe principle. For example, Golden Feather Star Lord and Green Flame Star Lord were both ultimate rulers. Neither of them had been able to comprehend a trace of the universe principle, let alone others. Under normal circumstances, it would be extremely difficult for even a major starfield to give birth to a ruler who had comprehended a single strand of the principles of the universe. Usually, it would take tens or even hundreds of chaos cycles for one to be born. The Golden Feather Star Lord had already given birth to one of the Azure Flame Star Lord's disciples. Naturally, it would be even more difficult for the Golden Feather Star Lord to find a second one. Of course, this was only limited to the Bone Eye Great Star field. However, his appearance now clearly gave Golden Feather Star Lord hope. Blood Sword, my young friend, since Guiyun has said so, I won't hide it from you. I do desire you to stay in the Bone Eye Great Star field and help me fight against Green Flame Star field. Of course, I'm also willing to pay a price for this. A low-grade Principal True Treasure Armor, a low-grade Soul Defense Principal True Treasure, and a middle-grade Principal True Treasure Weapon. In addition, if you want to cultivate in the Golden Feather Star world in the future, feel free to ask. As long as I can afford it, I won't refuse, Golden Feather Star Lord said solemnly. Jian Wushuang glanced at Golden Feather Star Lord. He had to admit that Golden Feather Star Lord was very sincere. Not to mention the Ice Spirit Tea, just the price that Golden Feather Star Lord was willing to pay now was a low-grade Principal True Treasure Armor, a low-grade Soul Defense Principal True Treasure, and a middle-grade Principal True Treasure Magic Weapon. These 3 Principal True Treasures alone were worth more than 5,000 Universe Origin Stones. It should be known that the most ordinary final-level rulers were all worth around 10,000 Universe Origin Stones. Although Golden Feather Star Lord was a first-grade Astral World ruler, his wealth was naturally more than that of an ordinary final-level ruler. However, paying 5,000 Universe Origin Stones at one time was indeed a big deal. Golden Feather Star Lord. Jian Wushuang looked at Golden Feather Star Lord and said, I'm sorry, but I can't agree to your request. Blood Sword, my friend. Golden Feather Star Lord was obviously anxious. If you think I'm paying too little, feel free to ask for more. If you can agree to it, I'll agree to it. It's not a matter of whether you have paid enough or not. Jian Wushuang shook his head. You just said that I'm not a cultivator of the bone pupil galaxy. I just happened to pass by here. To tell you the truth, I left my hometown to explore the universe largely because I wanted to go to the 9 luminaries galaxy in a short time. I can't stay in a galaxy for too long, let alone stay in the bone pupil galaxy and join hands with you to fight against the green flame star world. So, I can only apologize. Hearing this, Golden Feather Star Lord could only smile bitterly, although he was still unwilling to accept it. I also guessed it. You're just a genius ruler from another star field who just passed by. It's really impossible for you to stay. Golden Feather Star Lord was already mentally prepared when he learned that Jian Wushuang came from another star field's sea of consciousness. It was normal. If Jian Wushuang was a local cultivator from the bone pupil star field, he was confident that he could make Jian Wushuang stay. But since he came from another star field, he was obviously an expert who was adventuring in the universe. It would be unrealistic for him to make Jian Wushuang stay. It was not realistic. Knowing that it was not realistic, Golden Feather Star Lord tried his best to try, but he was naturally rejected by Jian Wushuang. Golden Feather Star Lord, Bloodsword passed the 4th level of the Principal Sea as a 2nd level ruler. Such a genius must be the best in the entire vast universe. It's impossible for you to keep him in an ordinary large star field, Guiyun said, pursing his lips. I know. The Golden Feather Star Lord's expression became even more bitter. However, he was still an ultimate ruler after all. Soon, a smile appeared on his face once more. Forget it. We'll think of another way in the future. However, for us to be able to gain the support of a genius like little friend Bloodsword today, our trip wasn't a wasted one. That's more like it. Guiyun nodded as well. Right at this moment, 2 more figures charged over from the void outside the island. The Green Flame Star Lord and his disciple are here, Guiyun said. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his head. Humph! Golden Feather Star Lord snorted. Haha! It's quite lively here. The 2 figures appeared in front of the Principal Sea as they laughed indifferently. The one who laughed indifferently was the Green Flame Star Lord. As for his disciple, the purple-robed, evil-looking young man, his sharp, blade-like eyes locked onto Jian Wushuang as soon as he appeared. It's him. He has comprehended the universe principle and is only a 2nd-level ruler, but he has passed the 4th level of the Principal Sea. The purple-robed, evil-looking young man's eyes narrowed. On the way here, Guiyun sent another message to Green Flame Star Lord and told him that Jian Wushuang had passed the 4th level. Naturally, Green Flame Star Lord also told him. Green Flame Star Lord, you came much later than Golden Feather Star Lord, Guiyun said with a smile. Golden Feather came here alone as soon as he received your message, but I have to bring my disciple with me. Of course, I came a little slower, but fortunately, I made it in time, Green Flame Star Lord said with a smile. His eyes swept over Golden Feather Star Lord, and at the same time, he saw the pot of tea on the coffee table. Oh, he even took out the ice spirit tea. It seems that Golden Feather has invested a lot. But if I'm not wrong, Bloodsword didn't agree with him. Did he? Green Flame Star Lord said with a smile. Humph. This has nothing to do with you, right? Golden Feather Star Lord snorted. Yes, it doesn't. Green Flame Star Lord smiled, but he already had the answer in his heart. At this time, the purple-robed evil youth had already come to Jian Wushuang and said in a low voice, My name is Emperor Fire. Dihua. Jian Wushuang looked at the purple-robed young man calmly. I heard that you have passed the 4th level of the Principal Sea. I would like to fight with you. Do you dare to accept my challenge? Dihua asked directly. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. When he saw Dihua's gaze, he had guessed what Dihua was trying to do. However, he did not expect Dihua to challenge him so directly. Jian Wushuang did not respond immediately, but Golden Feather Star Lord snorted and said, Dihua, you are already a 4th-level ruler, but Bloodsword is only a 2nd-level ruler. How dare you challenge him? Of course I won't bully him. When we fight, I will deliberately control the power of my divine power. I will only use the power of the fusion of the 5 principles. I will only rely on my comprehension of the universe principles and the Tao to fight. Green Flame continued to stare at Jian Wushuang. Why? Don't you dare. Jian Wushuang had a strange look on his face. My young friend Bloodsword. Someone spoke again, but at this moment, it was Emperor Flame's ruler, Green Flame Star Lord. My young friend, can you speak from the side? Green Flame Star Lord said with a smile. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Immediately, Green Flame Star Lord and Jian Wushuang came to the side. Moreover, Green Flame Star Lord directly blocked the surrounding space and time, obviously not wanting their conversation to be heard by others. Bloodsword, I'm sorry. Although my disciple is talented, he is too arrogant. In addition, he has been recognized as the #1 genius in the bone pupil star field all these years. No one can compare with him, which makes him more arrogant. That's why he came to challenge you today, Green Flame Star Lord said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. It was obvious that Dihua had always been the #1 genius in the bone pupil galaxy. Now that someone with a higher talent and comprehension than him had suddenly appeared, Dihua was not convinced and wanted to fight. Do you want to accept the challenge? Asked Green Flame Star Lord. Green Flame Star Lord, do you want me to accept the challenge or not? Jian Wushuang asked. If you are confident that you can defeat my disciple, I hope you can accept the challenge, Green Flame Star Lord said. Oh, why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. I just said that my disciple is good at everything, but he is too arrogant and arrogant. This is not a good thing for him. So if possible, I hope you can teach him a lesson and let him know that there is always someone better than him. Of course, I won't let you do it for nothing. I can give you a Principal Supreme Treasure as a reward, Green Flame Star Lord said. After hearing what the Star Lord said, Jian Wushuang's expression became even more strange. He did not expect that the Star Lord wanted to ask him to teach his disciple a lesson. However, it was also true that Dihua's arrogant personality was fine in the bone pupil galaxy. However, if he went to the vast universe in the future, he might cause trouble because of his personality. Teaching him a lesson earlier would be very helpful to Dihua. Green Flame Star Lord, I will agree to fight with him. I will also teach him a lesson according to what you said. As for the reward, there's no need for it, Jian Wushuang said. It was a piece of cake. Jian Wushuang really did not want any reward. Thank you, Bloodsword. A smile appeared on Green Flame Star Lord's face. Soon they returned to Dihua. Dihua looked at his ruler, Green Flame Star Lord, in confusion, but he found that the latter looked unfathomable. He was also confused and did not know what his ruler had said to Jian Wushuang. Dihua, I agree to fight with you, Jian Wushuang said directly. Very good, where shall we fight? Dihua's eyes were shining. I'm in a hurry, so I don't need to pick a place to fight. Let's fight here, Jian Wushuang said casually. Humph, arrogant. Dihua was enraged by Jian Wushuang's attitude. In the void of the island, Jian Wushuang and Dihua stood face to face at a certain distance, while Green Flame Star Lord and Golden Feather Star Lord had long retreated to the side. Lung Rushuang, Devil Flame, and Gue Yun stood together. Humph, Emperor Fire, just passed the 2nd level of the Principal Sea. Does he think he's so great? Not to mention that he's deliberately suppressing the power of his divine power. Even if he goes all out, he probably won't be a match for ruler. Devil Flame secretly curled his lips. In the void, Emperor Fire's eyes were cold, and a cyan saber appeared in his hand. The cyan saber was burning with a raging green flame, which was enough to make an ordinary ruler's heart palpitate. Bloodsword, you're the first person in hundreds of thousands of years that I really want to fight. I hope you won't disappoint me in this battle. Dihua held the green flame saber with one hand and stared at Jian Wushuang with a burning gaze. I'm in a hurry. Don't be so long-winded. Hurry up and fight so that I can get rid of you, so that I can continue my journey. Jian Wushuang looked impatient. You're too arrogant. Dihua was completely enraged by Jian Wushuang. He did not waste any more words and directly attacked. Whoosh! Whoosh! Numerous phantoms burst out at the same time. Dihua actually conjured 9 figures at the same time. Whether it was their appearance, aura, or the movements of their hands, they were all exactly the same. Even the soul power of a ruler could not tell which of the 9 figures was his real body. The 9 figures rushed over at the same time. The cyan-colored flame saber in their hands was raised high and ready to cut down. Emperor Fire's comprehension of the universe principles is far inferior to mine. Like me, he also doesn't know how to better ruler these universe principles. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, but suddenly he moved. Swish! Jian Wushuang's entire body turned into a cold sword light and flashed out in an instant. His speed was too fast. Before Dihua could even slash out his saber, the cold sword light that Jian Wushuang transformed into had already struck his many figures. In that instant, Dihua's 8 figures were directly crushed into pieces. As for his original body, it was also struck by the terrifying sword light, and his entire body was forced back in an extremely sorry state. It was not easy for him to regain his balance. You lost. Jian Wushuang reappeared in the void and looked at Dihua indifferently. Dihua, on the other hand, was completely stunned. In just a moment, he was the one who attacked first, but he was defeated before he could swing his saber. There was no room for struggle. The gap between the two was just too big. How is this possible? Dihua's head was buzzing. He knew that Jian Wushuang had passed the 4th level of the Principle C, so his comprehension of the universal principles must be much higher than his. However, when they fought, even if they had the same divine power and the same degree of fusion of the principles, the outcome could not be decided just by the comprehension of the universal principles. In Dihua's opinion, although his comprehension of the universe principles was not as good as Jian Wushuang's, he was very confident in his comprehension of the saber principle, the universe origin, his saber skills, and the secret skills he cultivated. Under such circumstances, even if his comprehension of the universe principles was weaker, he should be able to defeat Bloodsword. However, the real fight was not what he had imagined. He did not even have the chance to show his saber skills and was defeated in an instant. What a powerful sword! The surrounding spectators, including Green Flame Star-Lord, Golden Feather Star-Lord, and Gue Yun, were all shocked. 2 of them were ultimate rulers, and the other one was also a ruler at the peak of the 5th level. They all had very high standards, so they could naturally see how powerful Jian Wushuang's sword was. It's too fast, Golden Feather Star-Lord praised. It is very fast. In terms of speed, he is probably the top among the 5th level rulers. There is no doubt that Bloodsword has a very high comprehension of the universe principles, and his comprehension of the sword principle universe is also ridiculously high. I think he has already surpassed most of the 5th level rulers, Green Flame Star-Lord said. In the Principle C, we can only see the comprehension of the universal principles, but we can't judge other aspects. But now, it seems that Bloodsword is much stronger than we thought. Gue Yun sighed. Before, they thought that Jian Wushuang only had a high comprehension of the universal principles. But now, they knew that Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the universe origin of sword principle was also ridiculously high, and his swordsmanship. He was probably stronger than many 5th level rulers who were good at sword principle. Gue Yun and the others did not feel wronged that Dihua was defeated by him. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had already flown down from the void, and Dihua followed behind Jian Wushuang and flew down. My young friend Bloodsword, thank you very much, Green Flame Star-Lord said with a smile. You're welcome. Jian Wushuang just nodded slightly. Disciple, are you convinced of this battle? Green Flame Star-Lord looked at Dihua. Dihua moved his lips and wanted to say something, but he held it back in the end. He just lowered his head and looked extremely ugly. Humph! Green Flame Star-Lord suddenly snorted. A defeat is a defeat. If you don't even have the courage to face defeat, then you'll disappoint me. Ruler. Dihua raised his head and said in a low voice, I'm convinced by this battle. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Bloodsword. Dihua had even addressed Jian Wushuang as Mr. Bloodsword. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang's strength had convinced him. Seeing this, Green Flame Star-Lord nodded with satisfaction. He said, a defeat is not terrible. Moreover, the little friend Bloodsword who defeated you now must be the best and most heaven-defying genius in the entire vast universe. It's not shameful to be defeated by such a genius. What's important is that you must recognize yourself through this battle. Although you are a genius and you are number one in terms of talent in the entire bone pupil star field, you might not be able to rank at the top in the entire vast universe. At the very least, you are still far from the most heaven-defying geniuses. What you need to do is to maintain your reverence toward the universe. Keep your temper and slowly grow step by step. Sooner or later, you will have a chance to stabilize your peak. You might even surpass Bloodsword in the future. I understand. Di Hua nodded heavily, and his eyes became hot again. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang also nodded secretly. He could see that the Star Lord of Green Flame was very devoted to his disciple, and he also knew how to teach his disciple. After teaching Di Hua a lesson with his own hands, Di Hua's temper would definitely be erased, and his achievements in the future would be even greater. As for whether Di Hua would have a chance to surpass him in the future, Jian Wushuang did not dare to say it. All right, it's time to fight. Disciple, let's go back. Green Flame Star Lord said directly. Yes. Di Hua nodded respectfully. Green Flame Star Lord smiled at Jian Wushuang and then left with Di Hua. What a pity. Golden Feather Star Lord looked at Jian Wushuang with emotion. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang was much more talented than Di Hua and had greater potential. It was a pity that Jian Wushuang did not agree to his invitation. Well, Bloodsword, Guiyun, I'm leaving too. Golden Feather Star Lord left directly. After the two Star Lords left, Bloodsword, I just heard you say that you're going to the 9 Luminaries Galaxy? Guiyun looked at him. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Since you're going to the 9 Luminaries star field, then after you leave the Bone Pupil star field, your next stop should be the Pillheart star field, Guiyun said. That's right. Jian Wushuang looked at Guiyun with some confusion, not knowing why Guiyun asked this question. That's right. After you passed the 4th level of the Principal Sea, I reported this news to the higher-ups. You should know that the creator of the Principal Sea is a top force in the depths of the universe. This top force created the Principal Sea and spread it across all the major star fields in the universe. Moreover, there is a watcher beside the Principal Sea in each major star field. Naturally, it has some special purpose. The special intention is to find some geniuses. A genius like you, Bloodsword, will certainly attract the attention of the high-level experts of this force. They might even arrange someone to contact you. So I hope you can leave a message token so that I can contact you, Guiyun said. Oh, Jian Wushuang frowned. Haha. Don't worry, my friend. It's not a bad thing for you, Guiyun said with a smile. Jian Wushuang pondered for a moment and nodded slightly. Indeed, the forces behind the 9 Emperor Pavilion and the Principal Sea were all supreme rulers in the universe. In front of such a supreme ruler, even a supreme was nothing, not to mention a genius who had yet to grow up. If there was no absolute reason, these super forces would certainly not lower themselves to attack a genius. At most, they would try to recruit these geniuses with various conditions or at a price. For example, the 9 Emperor Pavilion established the special list of the 9 Emperor list. Even if the super forces behind the Principal Sea really wanted to contact him, they would probably come to recruit him. This was indeed not a bad thing for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang left his message token and then left. After leaving the Principal Sea, Jian Wushuang continued to fly toward the 9 Luminary star field. The next star field he was going to pass by was the Core star field. The Divine Beginning Realm, Jian Wushuang's original body, and his wife had been in the universe for more than 20,000 years. But the Divine Beginning Realm was still very peaceful. Although Jian Wushuang's original body had left, the Divine Beginning Realm had long since stabilized. Xian God Taoist, Temporal Temple Master, and the others were still there. In addition, Jian Wushuang had control over the Divine Realm's will of the Heavenly Tao. Naturally, no one could act recklessly. Buzz. In the Star Palace, Jian Wushuang's consciousness avatar appeared in front of Xian God Taoist. Xian God, find ruler Qinyun for me. I have something to ask him, Jian Wushuang said. Okay, wait a moment. Xian God Taoist immediately went to make the arrangements. Jian Wushuang was just a consciousness clone. If he wanted to find ruler Qinyun, Shenga Daoist would have to do it. Soon, ruler Qinyun appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Of course, ruler Qinyun was just a consciousness clone. Blood Sword Master, do you still find it interesting to travel in the universe? Ruler Qinyun looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Of course, the vast universe is much larger than the star field where the divine beginning realm is located. Jian Wushuang also smiled. Ruler Qinyun, I have something to ask you. What is it? Ruler Qinyun looked over. You know that I have comprehended a bit of the universe principles. After all these years, my comprehension of the universe principles has improved a lot. But not long ago, I met an expert who told me that although my comprehension of the universe principles is good, I don't know how to ruler them and use them. He also suggested that I buy some secret manuals that combine the universe principles and sword principle. I'm also very curious about this secret manual. There must be one in the 9 Emperor Pavilion, but I wonder how much it's worth. Jian Wushuang asked. He wanted to know how much the secret manual, which could help him better ruler and use the universe principles and perfectly cooperate with his sword principle, was worth, and whether he could afford it with his own wealth. A secret manual that can help me ruler and use the universe principles, and it has to perfectly coordinate with my swordsmanship? Ruler Qinyun revealed a strange expression. After pondering for a moment, Ruler Qinyun spoke again. Blood Sword Master, the secret manual you mentioned is naturally available in the 9 Emperor Pavilion. However, its value is beyond your imagination. Oh? How much? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He was more or less ready. However, Ruler Qinyun stretched out a finger. Even if it's an ordinary technique or secret manual to grasp and use the universe principles, it's worth 100,000 universe origin stones in the 9 Emperor Pavilion. As for the secret manual that perfectly matches the universe principles and sword principle, it's even more valuable. It costs hundreds of thousands of universe origin stones. What? Even though Jian Wushuang was mentally prepared, he was still shocked when he heard the number. 100,000 universe origin stones, and it was just the most ordinary secret manual for grasping and using the universe principles? Why is it so expensive? Jian Wushuang frowned. It's normal for it to be expensive, Ruler Qinyun said with a smile. Blood Sword Master, you should know that only supreme experts are qualified to comprehend the universe principles, and those who comprehend the universe principles at the ruler level are very few. However, even if a ruler has comprehended universe principles, most of them can only comprehend a little of them. They don't need to use them at all. Therefore, under normal circumstances, only supreme-level experts and supreme-level experts can afford to buy secret manuals on the use of universe principles. Is that so? Jian Wushuang understood. It was true that 100,000 universe origin stones was an astronomical figure for a ruler, but it was probably nothing for a supreme expert. The secret manual on the use of universe principles was prepared for supreme experts. As for rulers, most of them could not comprehend it at all. Even if they did, they could only comprehend a little of it. There was no need for such a secret manual. However, Jian Wushuang was different. He had comprehended a trace of universe principle at the level of a principal ruler, and he had made great progress over the years. Now, he could pass the 4th level of the Principle C and even comprehend the universe principle. He was stronger than the gatekeeper of the 5th level of the Principle C, but his ability to use and control the universe principle was much stronger than his. His comprehension of the principles of the universe was already stronger than that of some of the lowest-level supreme beings. That was why he needed to use the secret manual of the use of the principles of the universe. However, the value of the secret manual was so expensive that Jian Wushuang could not accept it. I thought I was rich now, but I didn't expect that I could not afford even the most common method of using the principles of the universe. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. I understand, Ruler Qinyun. Thank you. Jian Wushuang thanked him. You're welcome, Blood Sword Master. Ruler Qinyun smiled and then disappeared. In the vast dark void of the universe, the ancient universe boat was still rushing forward. In the universe boat, Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. Even the most ordinary universe principle application secret manual costs 100,000 universe origin stones. It's really expensive. Jian Wushuang praised. Hearing this, Lung Rushuang only smiled faintly. Devil Flame said in a deep voice, "Ruler, I didn't even ruler a trace of universal principle when I was alive. This secret manual is far away. However, I've heard that anything that involves the comprehension or usage of universal principle is very expensive. After all, only supreme experts are qualified to be involved in those things." "Well, I've learned something today." Jian Wushuang shrugged. However, he was not in a hurry. After all, his strength was still too weak. He was only at the second level. There were many ways for him to improve his strength. He could improve his ability to use and control the principles of the universe. It was just one of them. Even if he could not get such a secret manual now, when his strength improved in the future, he would naturally have other ways to get it. Let's continue on our way. It won't be long before we reach the core star field. I wonder if the super force behind the Principal C will send experts to contact me there, Jian Wushuang muttered. While Jian Wushuang was riding on the universe boat, in the depths of the universe, there were 4 figures gathered in a towering temple. Although they were just consciousness incarnations, their every move was enough to suffocate an ordinary ruler. There was no doubt that these 4 were all ruler-level experts. This is news from the bone pupil star field at the edge of the universe not too long ago. Everyone, take a look. A white-robed man waved his hand, sending out a message. A second-stage ruler actually managed to pass the 4th level of the Principal C. Very impressive. Someone immediately sighed in praise. He isn't bad at all. In addition, his comprehension of the prime essences of the Tao of the Sword is extremely high, even surpassing that of most 5th-tier rulers. A genius of this level is quite rare, a bald old man said. Comprehending the prime essences of the Tao of the Sword isn't a big deal. The most important thing is the principles of the universe. After all, comprehending the principles of the universe has a lot to do with one's level of insight. Some rulers spend countless years trying to come up with countless methods, but they are still unable to comprehend even a sliver of the principles of the universe. However, as long as one reaches the ruler level, comprehending the principles of the universe will be much easier. In other words, the lower one's level of insight is, the more difficult it will be to comprehend the principles of the universe. He's only a 2nd-tier ruler, yet his comprehension of the universe principles is already so high. If I'm not wrong, he's most likely already comprehended a strand of the universe principles at the level of a principal ruler. He's one of those supreme geniuses that are rarely seen in trillions of star worlds. The only purple-robed woman amongst the 4 said solemnly. A principal ruler is able to comprehend a strand of the universe principles? This blood sword is so heaven-defying. The bald old man revealed a look of shock. It's very possible, the purple-clothed woman said in a low voice. All right, the white-clothed man who had spoken at the beginning finally spoke. There is no doubt about the talent of this blood sword, but what we need to decide now is whether or not we should make contact with him. If we do, what conditions must we set? Hearing this, the supreme beings present were all silent. Their force was indeed one of the top super forces in the vast universe. It was not inferior to the 9 Emperor Pavilion at all. Such a super force also attached great importance to some genius experts with great potential. A genius like Jian Wushuang had clearly reached the qualification that this super force attached importance to. However, no matter how much they valued him, they would not throw caution to the wind for a genius. After all, a genius was just a genius, not a super expert who had fully grown up and had great influence in the universe. This blood sword is so heaven-defying at the level of a 2nd-level ruler. Most importantly, he comes from the edge of the universe. Not only is his talent and potential terrifying, but he must have also obtained some great opportunities. Maybe he has obtained some ancient inheritances. And many of these ancient legacies involve some of the major powers in the universe. There might even be enemies of our side. Thus, I suggest that we continue to pay attention to him first, and then think of a way to find out more about him. Once we truly find out more about him, it won't be too late to make a decision. The bald old man said. That makes sense. The violet-robed woman nodded. I think we can make appropriate contact first, or we can give him some benefits. We can form a good relationship with him first, and we can talk about the rest later. The last person said. The four of them were talking. But at this time, Wang, a hazy figure suddenly appeared in the center of the divine hall. The four people in the divine hall immediately looked at the person. When they saw the person's appearance clearly, they were all shocked. Lord Xiao. Greetings, Lord Xiao. The four Supreme Being experts, including the white-robed man with a higher status, all bowed respectfully at the same time. I heard that you are discussing the blood sword? The azure-robed old man looked at the four people in front of him. Yes. The white-robed man nodded respectfully. I know about the blood sword, the azure-robed old man said. That principal C in the bone pupil great star field happens to be guarded by one of my incarnations. The four were immediately stunned. They had just been curious as to why this Lord Xiao would suddenly come here. One had to know that although this Lord Xiao was also a supreme being like them, they were both supreme beings, and the difference in strength between them was abnormally huge. If the four of them could only be considered to have a firm foothold amongst the supreme beings, then this Lord Xiao was without a doubt a supreme expert standing at the pinnacle of the supreme beings. Such an expert, in the depths of the universe, was able to open up a large god country by himself. That was the true supreme being expert of the superforce they were in. Under normal circumstances, the so-called geniuses, no matter how heaven-defying, didn't have the qualifications to startle such a supreme being. But now, this Lord Xiao had come personally. So, the principal C that the blood sword charged through was guarded by Lord Xiao's incarnation. The four people were secretly surprised. You plan to make contact with that little guy? The green-clothed old man Lord Xiao looked at the four people in front of him. No, the result of our discussion just now is that we won't make contact with him for the time being. It's not too late to make contact after we have investigated his background, the white-clothed man said. Is that so? The carefree man narrowed his eyes slightly. He said, I don't care if you guys come into contact with him or not. But this little guy, I think he's pretty good. He didn't just pass the fourth level of the Principal C. In fact, if it wasn't for my incarnation personally overseeing the Principal C, he might have already passed the fifth level. What? The white-robed man and the others were all startled. Past the fifth level? The difference between the fourth level and the fifth level of the Principal C was enormous. If that little fellow only had a simple comprehension of the principles of the universe, he already had the qualifications to pass the fifth level. However, his ability to control the principles of the universe was a bit too crude. In the Principal C, I once gave him some guidance, but then I remembered that the secret manual of the principles of the universe was a bit too valuable to a ruler. If this little fellow had a ruler behind him, that would be fine, but if it was useless, he would have to wait until he broke through to become a great ruler before he would have a chance to acquire such a manual. That's why I came to look for you, Lord Xiao said indifferently. The white-clothed man and the other three looked at each other. They still did not understand why Lord Xiao had come. I've chosen a secret manual for this little fellow that is extremely suitable for his universe principles and sword Dao. When you want to come into contact with him, come look for me and bring that manual to him. Tell him that I gave it to him. After saying that, Lord Xiao left. 200 years after leaving the Bone Pupil Galaxy, Jian Wushuang arrived at the Pillheart Galaxy. Not long after arriving at the Pillheart Galaxy, Guiyun contacted him. In a dark and boundless void, the universe boat was floating there quietly. In the distance, three figures were rushing over. The leader of the three was a golden-robed man, and the two people beside him were also wearing long robes. My friend Bloodsword is in the universe boat. The golden-robed man came to the front of the universe boat and said. Jian Wushuang immediately walked out of the universe boat. It's me. May I know who you are? Jian Wushuang asked. The golden-robed man looked at Jian Wushuang carefully, nodded slightly and said, My name is Three Wings. I'm here on behalf of the Divine King Palace. Divine King Palace? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He immediately understood that the super force behind the Principal C should be the Divine King Palace. He just did not know who was stronger in the Divine King Palace compared to the 9 Emperor Pavilion. My friend Bloodsword, you are very talented. You can pass the 4th level of the Principal C at the 2nd level. Some of the higher-ups of the Divine King Palace have already noticed you. They sent me here on behalf of the Divine King Palace to have an official contact with you. Secondly, I also brought you a gift. With that, the golden-robed man waved his hand and a big silver box appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The 3-winged ruler opened the box and Jian Wushuang immediately saw the square-shaped crystal jades inside. These crystal jades were neatly arranged. At a glance, there must be dozens of them. 3-winged ruler, these crystal jades are? Jian Wushuang looked puzzled. These crystal jades are used to store secret skills and secret manuals in the depths of the universe. There are a total of 36 pieces of crystal jades in this box. All of them add up to a secret manual that combines the use of universe principles with sword principle, called the Purple Blood Secret Manual. Of course, there are 3 volumes of the complete Purple Blood Secret Manual. Each volume is divided into 3 levels. Now, it only gives you the first 3 levels of the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual, the 3-winged ruler said with a smile. Purple Blood Manual? A manual that combines the universal principle and sword principle. Jian Wushuang stared at him. Not long ago, he had asked the Devil Cloud Master and learned that the most common manual for the use of the universal principle was worth 100,000 origin stones. But now, in the blink of an eye, someone from the Divine King Palace had given him the first volume of a manual that combined the universal principle and sword principle. 3-winged ruler, as far as I know, the secret manual of the universal principle is usually very expensive. The first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual you brought me should be very valuable, right? Jian Wushuang asked directly. Of course. 3-winged ruler nodded with a smile. To tell you the truth, although I am a ruler of the ultimate level and come from the Divine King Palace, and I have accumulated some wealth over the years, all of my wealth added up is probably only worth a little bit of the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual. Blood Sword. My young friend, you might not know this, but in the universe, even the most ordinary methods of using the universe principles are extremely valuable. It is simply not something an ordinary ruler can afford. Furthermore, combining the Sword Dao with the secret manual of using the universe principles is even more valuable. And now, I have brought you the Violet Blood Manual. It is one of the publicly acknowledged 3 most powerful manuals of the Sword Dao and the use of the universe principles in the vast universe. The creator of the Violet Blood Manual was a supreme expert who stood at the very top of the universe. His understanding of the Tao of the sword and his understanding of the principles of the universe were both at the peak of perfection. The combination of the two allowed him to rise to the top of the universe. If he had left behind a complete copy of the Violet Blood Manual, even a supreme ruler would have valued it. Now, however, he has only brought you the first volume, which is better. However, even if it's just the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual, it's still worth 1,000,000 universe origin stones. Hearing the words of the 3-winged ruler, Jian Wushuang was a little stunned. It was worth 1,000,000 universe origin stones? 1,000,000 universe origin stones should be a considerable amount of wealth even for an expert at the Supreme Being level. Some weaker or poorer Supreme Beings were only worth about 1,000,000 universe origin stones. In other words, the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual was worth more than the wealth of the poorer Supreme Beings. 3-winged ruler, the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual is too valuable. I'm afraid I can't accept it, Jian Wushuang said seriously. Although the first volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual was very useful to him, he did not deny that he was not eager to get it. However, he also knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. He had not given anything. He had only shown some talent. So how could he accept such a precious gift? Young friend, you don't accept it. But are you worried that the Divine King Palace will make some requests to you? The 3-winged ruler looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Jian Wushuang did not answer, but he tacitly agreed. Haha. Don't worry, my friend. To be honest, although your talent is incredible and you have attracted the attention of some high-level experts of my palace, It's not enough to ask my palace to directly take out 1,000,000 origin stones worth of the Purple Blood secret manual to recruit you. The gift I brought today is actually not directly given by my palace, but a personal gift from a lord in my palace, the three-winged ruler said with a smile. A personal gift? May I know who it is? Jian Wushuang asked with a frown. It's Lord Xiao. He's one of the highest-ranking members of the Divine King Palace. His strength is among the top experts in the palace, and his status is much higher than most supreme beings, the three-winged ruler said. Lord Xiao? I've never met him, and I don't think he has any connection with me. Why would he give me the first volume of the Purple Blood secret manual? Jian Wushuang asked. My friend, it's not like you don't have any connection with him. Have you forgotten that he was the guardian of the Principal Sea in the Bone Pupil Galaxy? That Principal Sea is the guardian of Xiao Yao's consciousness avatar. I've also heard that he has given you some guidance in the Principal Sea, the three-winged ruler said. It's him. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Then he understood. In the Principal Sea, the cyan-robed elder told him that he was too rough in the use of the universal principles, so he did give him some pointers. But before, Lord Xiao only gave him some casual pointers, but now he gave him such a precious gift. This is a huge favor. My friend Bloodsword, Lord Xiao asked us to bring the first volume of the Purple Blood secret manual to you. He also asked me to tell you that he looks forward to your growth, the three-winged ruler said with a smile. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang looked strange, but he began to hesitate in his heart. If the first volume of the Purple Blood secret manual was given to him by the Divine King Palace, Jian Wushuang would not accept it. But now it was a personal gift from Lord Xiao. It would be fine if he did not have any relationship with Lord Xiao, but in fact, he had already received guidance from Lord Xiao when he was in the Principal Sea. It could be said that he had already received a favor from Lord Xiao. Now, Lord Xiao had only done him a great favor, and it was obvious that Lord Xiao had given him a gift on a whim. He had not expected Lord Xiao to repay him in the future. After all, the three-winged ruler had said that Lord Xiao was one of the most powerful figures in the Divine Imperial Palace. He was extremely powerful even amongst rulers, and was very likely a supreme being. Although he was talented, he was still very weak. How could a supreme being like Lord Xiao seek his reward? In that case, please thank Lord Xiao for me, Jian Wushuang said. It was obvious that he had accepted the gift. That's more like it, the three-winged ruler said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also smiled faintly. In his heart he thought, anyway, I've already owed Lord Xiao a favor in the Principal Sea. Now I just owe him an even bigger favor. If I can break through to the Supreme Being level and reach the top of the vast universe, I'll find a way to repay it. But if I can't reach that level, then I have no other choice. Blood Sword, the first volume of the Purple Blood secret manual has been given to you. The three of us will take our leave now, the three-winged ruler said. Thank you, Jian Wushuang thanked him. Soon, the three-winged ruler left, and Jian Wushuang returned to the universe boat. As soon as he returned to the universe boat, Lung Rushuang and Devil Flame immediately came up to him. Husband, what did the ruler just say to you? Lung Rushuang asked. Jian Wushuang briefly recounted what he had just said to the three-winged ruler. After hearing it, both Lung Rushuang and Devil Flame were a little dumbfounded. The Purple Blood secret manual. A secret manual calculated by millions of origin stones? Lung Rushuang was extremely shocked. 1,000,000 universe origin stones, the wealth of an expert at the supreme level, is nothing more than that, Devil Flame added. The value is amazing, and it's a personal gift from Lord Xiao. I have no reason to refuse it, Jian Wushuang said. Ruler, you don't have to refuse. There are countless experts in the vast universe, but how many of them haven't received favors from others during their rise to power? Who hasn't received help from others? There are some who have grown up on their own and have no friends, but how many of them have? Besides, Lord Xiao is just looking forward to your growth and helping you. It's a favor, but if you grow up in the future, you can return it to him, Devil Flame said. I think so too. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, let's not talk about it. I'll study the Purple Blood secret manual first. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged in a secret chamber in the universe boat. In front of him was the big box, in which 36 square crystal jades were placed neatly. Jian Wushuang picked up the first crystal jade. As his consciousness sank in, a vast message was transmitted to Jian Wushuang in an instant. The message of the first crystal jade was not the combination of the universe principle and the sword principle origin, but just some basic use of the universe principle. Even so, Jian Wushuang's head buzzed. It was as if he had entered a brand new world in an instant. Indeed, as he received the information of the first crystal jade, a brand new door was placed in front of him. It should be known that he did not know anything about the use of the universal principle before. He only knew how to integrate the universal principle into his attacks and increase the power of his attacks. But now, even the most superficial and simple use of the universe principles was enough for Jian Wushuang to gain enlightenment. Time passed. After a full hour, Jian Wushuang finally received all the information in the first crystal jade. But after receiving it, his mind became confused. This is only the first crystal jade, but I can only understand the information at the beginning. I can't immediately use the principles after that. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Then he began to receive the second crystal jade's information. The second crystal jade contained even more information. It was only at this point that he began to talk about the combination of universal principles and sword principle. It's actually a cover-up? Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes. I always thought that the combination of universal principles and sword principle should have a primary and secondary distinction. If it's not dominated by the universal principles or sword principle, in fact, the universal principles and sword principle are controlled by one's own consciousness. The universal principles are profound and unfathomable, and the level of comprehension is like the number of an army. The same is true for sword principle, but one's own consciousness is definitely the absolute soul and the existence of a general. Consciousness dominates the universal principle, and comprehension of sword principle is a perfect combination. With a smile on his face, Jian Wushuang continued to accept and comprehend. There were 3 volumes of the Purple Blood Secret Manual. Each volume had a total of 36 crystal jades, and 12 of them were in the first realm. In other words, the creator of the Purple Blood Secret Manual, the combination of sword principle and universal principle, was divided into 9 realms. Jian Wushuang needed to completely comprehend the information in the first 12 crystal jades in order to reach the first realm. But in fact, Jian Wushuang was so confused that he could not comprehend the first piece of crystal jades, let alone the other ones. However, what surprised Jian Wushuang was that the use of universal principle and sword principle were divided in detail by the pieces of crystal jades in the Purple Blood Secret Manual. It could be said that the whole process of using universal principle and sword principle were combined. It was a complete analysis. This made it much easier for Jian Wushuang to understand and comprehend. It was also much easier to get started. For example, it only took Jian Wushuang 30 years to completely comprehend the first crystal jade. Then he continued to comprehend the second crystal jade. The second crystal jade took much longer than the first one, but it took less than 200 years. The third crystal jade took Jian Wushuang 600 years. In a flash, another 30,000 years passed. Long Qinqing River, a galaxy that was wider than the Purple Microgalaxy, had more intersecting star fields and was more chaotic. There were also a large number of space pirates in Long Qinqing River, and they were more powerful. There were many 4th-level and 5th-level space pirates. There were even rumors that there were even ultimate-level space pirates in Long Qinqing River. In the galaxy, kill him. It's already good enough that we don't kill a 2nd-level space ruler. How dare he provoke us? He's courting death. Hundreds of space pirates charged at a black-clothed man in front of the galaxy like wasps. The black-clothed man held a sword in one hand, and his figure directly materialized. He appeared among the space pirates like a ghost. Chi, 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 chi. Sword shadows seemed to fly out casually. These sword shadows weren't very powerful, but they were very mysterious. The sword shadows easily slashed onto the bodies of the space pirates. The weaker 1st-level or 2nd-level rulers could not withstand one sword attack, and they were killed, Even the protective armor on the surface of their bodies was torn apart easily. Even the third-level ruler's true treasure armor was torn apart with a single sword attack, and his godly power was instantly annihilated. Although this black-clothed man was only a second-level ruler, and the power of his godly power was only at the peak of the second level, the third-level rulers could not withstand the sword techniques he displayed. The slaughter was completely one-sided. More than 100 space pirates had been slaughtered in just a few breaths, and only a few of them had fled back when they saw that the situation was not good. And at this time, buzz, 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 for strong auras suddenly swept over from the distant void. These 4 people were 3 men and 1 woman, and the auras on their bodies were all at the 4th-level ruler level. Leader! Leader! Seeing the appearance of the 4 people, the space pirates who were lucky enough to survive screamed miserably as if they had seen their savior. These 4 people were the leaders of this group of space pirates. In Qinqing River, even a small space pirate gang had a 4th-level dominator overseeing them. Now, there were 4 4th-level dominators in this space pirate gang. A 2nd-level ruler killed so many of us? He is only a 2nd-level ruler, and his divine power is only at the 2nd level, but his swordsmanship can't even stop a 3rd-level ruler? His divine sword in the water should be a medium-grade principal treasure, and it can even tear the supreme true treasure armor. The 4 leaders stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. 4 4th-level rulers? That's going to take some effort. Jian Wushuang looked up at the 4 leaders with a smile on his face. It was a clear smile. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang moved and easily appeared in front of the 4 leaders as if he had teleported. Be careful! The 4 leaders were shocked because Jian Wushuang's speed was very fast. However, before they could react, Jian Wushuang had already struck. Whoosh! It was a very ordinary and casual strike. In the eyes of the 4 4th-level rulers, this strike was very slow and soft, as if it contained no power at all. Even an ordinary principal ruler might be able to dodge such a slow sword move, let alone a ruler. However, when the 4 leaders saw Jian Wushuang's sword move and were ready to counterattack, they were horrified to find that they could not move. It was not that they could not move, but that they were too slow. They were as slow as snails, so slow that they could not dodge or block Jian Wushuang's sword light. It's not that we are too slow, but his swordsmanship is too fast. This thought immediately appeared in the minds of the 4 leaders. They widened their eyes and watched as the slow and soft sword light slashed at their necks at the same time. The power of the true treasure armor on their bodies had been fully activated, protecting their entire bodies. However, when the sword light slashed toward them, the supreme tier true treasure armor on their bodies was torn apart like a piece of paper by the sword light. The power of the sword light did not decrease, and it continued to slash toward their godly bodies. Chi! 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 The sound of the sword cutting into their bodies could be heard, and 4 huge heads were sent flying at the same time. The 4 leaders' eyes were still filled with fear and disbelief. They did not believe that a 2nd-level ruler could kill them with only 1 sword attack. Even their true treasures, armor, and undying bodies were useless against this sword attack. The leader is dead? He killed 4 leaders with 1 sword strike? Run! Those space pirates who were lucky enough to survive were even more terrified. They were scared out of their wits and began to flee frantically. Jian Wushuang did not chase after them anymore. Buzz! The ancient universe boat stopped in the void around Jian Wushuang. Lung Rushuang and Devil Flame walked out of the universe boat. Husband, your strength has improved a lot compared to 30,000 years ago, Lung Rushuang said with a smile. You only used the divine power of a 2nd-level ruler and killed 4 4th-level rulers with 1 sword attack. Ruler, your strength. Devil Flame was also amazed. Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly. It was not a big deal to kill 4 4th-level rulers with the combat strength of a 2nd-level ruler. After all, Jian Wushuang already had the combat strength of a 5th-level ruler since a long time ago in the Purple Microgalaxy. He had even killed a 5th-level ruler, Thunderstar Lord. However, the reason why Jian Wushuang had such battle strength was that his divine power was very strong. It was comparable to the divine power of a 3rd-level ruler, plus the power of the will given by the universal principles. He also had 2 secret skills, life divine power and heaven cleaving skill. This made him as powerful as any 4th level ruler. But this time, whether it was killing the space pirates or killing the 4 4th level rulers, his divine power was controlled at the 2nd level. He did not use the power of the will given by the universe principles. In other words, he killed the 4 4th level rulers with the power of an ordinary 2nd level ruler, relying solely on his swordsmanship and his comprehension and application of the universe principles. If it had been 30,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang would not have been able to do this. However, over the years, as he comprehended the Purple Blood Secret Manual, his application of the universe principles continued to improve. Combined with his swordsmanship, he was able to display his own swordsmanship. It was several times more exquisite and terrifying than before, or even nearly 10 times more. That was how he was able to do this. Husband, have you completely mastered the 1st level of the Purple Blood Secret Manual? Leng Rushuang asked. How could it be so easy? Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. The 1st level of the first 3 levels of the 1st volume of the Purple Blood Secret Manual required him to completely comprehend the first 12 pieces of crystal jade. In the past 30,000 years, Jian Wushuang had already comprehended the first 10 pieces of crystal jade. He was very close to completely comprehending the 11th piece of crystal jade, but he was still far from comprehending the 12th piece of crystal jade. However, this Purple Blood Secret Manual is indeed amazing. I have only comprehended the first 10 pieces of crystal jade, and my application of the universe principles is still at the basic stage. However, the combination of the use of the universe principles and swordsmanship has made my swordsmanship several times or even nearly 10 times more exquisite than before, and the power is much stronger. In addition, my application of the universal principles has improved, and my rulery of the Wuxia divine sword has reached a whole new level. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining with a bright light. The Wuxia divine sword was an upper-grade principal supreme treasure, and even a supreme being would attach great importance to such a principal supreme treasure. Previously, although Jian Wushuang had comprehended the universal principles, he could only exert a little of the power of the Wuxia divine sword. But now, with the improvement of his comprehension of the universal principles, the most important thing was that he could use the universe principles more deeply, so he could exert the power of the Wuxia divine sword even more. Because of this, when he fought with the space pirates, the Wuxia divine sword slashed at his opponent's divine body. The armor on his opponent's body could not withstand it at all. It either collapsed or was torn apart. The armor was only at the supreme treasure level, so it could not withstand the attack of an upper-grade principal treasure. My use of the universe principle is still very low. When I completely comprehend the first 12 pieces of crystal jade and reach the first stage of the Purple Blood Secret Manual, my strength will probably increase greatly, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Of course, he also knew that he was still a distance away from that step. Let's continue to explore. There are countless space pirates and experts in the Qinxing River. It's a good opportunity for me to use it as a training ground, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The universe boat continued to fly toward the end of the galaxy. There were countless space pirates in Long Qinxing River, and Jian Wushuang completely regarded them as his opponents to gain experience. Every time he encountered a group of space pirates, he would directly kill them and defeat them head-on. Moreover, when those space pirates fought, Jian Wushuang would not directly reveal his strongest strength. Instead, he would deliberately maintain the power of his divine power and use the strength of a second-level ruler. He would rely on his swordsmanship and the use of universal principles to fight the pirates. Even so, ordinary pirate gangs could not stop Jian Wushuang. He could easily kill a fourth-level ruler. Soon, another 200 years passed. In the Qinxing River, a bald elder stood in front of Jian Wushuang. Around them were a large number of pirate corpses. These space pirates had just been mercilessly slaughtered by Jian Wushuang. But because of the slaughter, the bald elder was lured out. "You are Bloodsword?" The bald elder stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Bloodsword was Jian Wushuang's name. In the past few hundred years, Bloodsword's name had been very well known in the Qinxing River. The reason was that Jian Wushuang had killed countless pirates in the last few hundred years, and many pirate forces had also been wiped out by him. Moreover, he took the universe boat and took the initiative to kill the pirates time and time again. The pirates in the Star River were not stupid. Under normal circumstances, they did not dare to provoke the universe boat. As long as the pirates did not take the initiative to provoke them, the experts in the universe boat could not be bothered with these space pirates. However, this blood sword was different. Even if the space pirates did not take the initiative to provoke them, he would still go directly to their door and slaughter them without any reason. This kind of behavior was obviously treating those space pirates as trial stones. Most importantly, he himself was only a second-tier ruler. It was difficult for him not to attract attention in Longqingqing River. "Who are you?" Jian Wushuang also looked at the bald elder. "Elder Mo Hong," the bald elder said. "Sorry, I've never heard of him," Jian Wushuang said. "It's okay if you've never heard of him. You just need to remember this name, because you'll die at his hands soon," Elder Mo Hong said. "Oh? You're very confident." Jian Wushuang gave a strange smile. "Humph." The bald elder snorted and waved his hand. Hum hum hum. Streams of black light rapidly condensed in front of him, and in the blink of an eye, they formed a 3-meter-long black magic sword. As soon as the black magic sword was formed, a vast black power burst out. The entire galaxy was covered by the dark power, and it became completely dark. "Sword formation?" Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. "A 5th-level ruler. Seeing me use the sword formation without saying anything, you really think highly of me." Jian Wushuang smiled lightly, and the Wuxia divine sword appeared in his hand. There was also a strong aura rising from his body. After all, his opponent was a genuine 5th-level ruler. It was impossible for Jian Wushuang to deliberately hide his strength and preserve the power of his divine power like before. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang planned to attack with all his strength. However, the moment the black divine sword took shape and shot toward him, Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly constricted. He stared at the black divine sword that was rushing toward him. The black divine sword contained the most concentrated power of the dark principles. The entire sword formation was dominated by the dark principles and supplemented by the other principles. They complemented each other. However, Jian Wushuang saw some very subtle things in the black magic sword. These things were not eye-catching, but Jian Wushuang noticed them. In an instant, Jian Wushuang gained some understanding in his mind. Is that so? Darkness? Essence? Details. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with ecstasy. However, even though he was ecstatic, the black divine sword did not show any mercy. The endless darkness brought with it an extremely sharp power that enveloped Jian Wushuang in the blink of an eye. Boom! With a violent roar, a large amount of dark air and sword essence scattered crazily. In the endless darkness, whoosh, a figure rushed out. This figure was Jian Wushuang, who had been pushed back by the black divine sword. At this moment, although he was in a sorry state, his aura did not weaken at all. The ecstasy in his eyes did not weaken at all. Instead, it was even more intense.